Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 147. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with a triggered Johnny V here tonight.
A little upset at some computer stuff tonight. Got it running. Something is causing my Skype to just be, it's working, but it's almost non-responsive to any sort of click. So it's really a goofy situation tonight. And everything worked great this weekend, as we saw at the Utah Open. So I don't know what the difference between today and 3 days ago is.
Well, we weren't Skyping during the Utah Open for the most part, though.
We weren't Skyping at all.
Exactly. Well, we did last Tuesday. But so, yes, hopefully everything will remain up to speed for us. There was even an update by Johnny V here. There was some screaming. I think he threw a few things around. And, I think officially triggered the what the kids say these days.
That's I was upset. I was upset.
All right. Well, we've got a great show for you guys planned tonight. We're going to be opening relatively soon with Dana Vici, course record-setting Dana Vici, that is. I think now that's how we have to officially address him, at least until next year's Utah Open, and hopefully somebody then beats his course record. But
I don't think so.
Course record-setting Dana Vici will be joining us. He's on location out near the Beaver State Fling. So it'll be great to have him. I think he's just gotten some dinner in his belly, and he's going to be ready to go, which is awesome. And then we're also going to have our United States amateur champion, Brandon Oleskie. He's going to be joining us. Last year's champion, who was that? I think we had him.
We did have him. I don't remember who it was. But
was that Austin Turner, maybe? Might have been Austin Turner. No, somebody's going to correct me on that. I know we had Austin Turner after he cashed in Florida. No, it wasn't Austin then. Was it IMAC? I don't remember. That was a couple years ago. There's so many good people out there. Yeah. And as soon as it pops up, somebody's going to yell at me on the board as to who it was. And hopefully you do, so we can give the correct props. Rathburn. Gavin. We had him.
We did.
Rathbun, sorry. We had him on the show. And then I've seen him go on to play some pretty good golf on the professional levels. Yes, it was Gavin from Illinois. So... and IMAC and Barella, all our superstars of the last few years. So this year, superstar is Brandon Oleskie. I don't personally know Brandon. Usually I know some of our up-and-comers, like the names I just mentioned. So I think we're all going to get to know Brandon at the same time.
I believe we are.
So it's pretty sweet. Glad you guys could join us out there on the board. As always, little PSA that we usually follow along with the YouTube chat more diligently than we do with the Facebook chat. We may check in on that every once in a while.
Or the Twitch chat. For both of you out there watching on Twitch.
Exactly. But we usually interact a little bit more on the YouTube chat. So please, if you want to chime in there, do so. We get even more interactive usually once the after show rolls around. But if we have any contest or games or need anything else out there, the YouTube chat, log into that and be ready to go. So that's your best place for it. Again, podcast number 147, and I think we're ready for a little course record setting dynamite.
Boom goes the dynamite.
CR Dynamite. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, boys? I'm doing good, thank you. I'm wide awake. I'm out here in Portland, Oregon. It's only 7 o'clock. Usually I'm half asleep. It's 9 o'clock back home, but I don't know. This time zone's got me wide awake. Sun's still shining. It's probably 75 degrees out, maybe a little bit lower than that. Absolutely beautiful out.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming weekend in terms of the weather and the course and where you're at and what your plans are as we're rolling into the Beaver State Fling.
Yeah, so I made it out to Milo MacGyver today, round in on the East course. Only had time to get one in, but the course is in really good shape. It's looking good. One noticeable difference, there's a lot of I think they had a lot of rain, and then they've had some heat, so everything has grown quite a bit. And so some of the fairways are a little tighter with taller grass. It really shouldn't come into play on the pro divisions, but today playing with Edith and Ashley. We dealt with some of the tall grass a little bit, playing from the long tees. But weather's was great today. It's looking great for the next day or so, and then it's kind of taking a dump on us. The forecast anyways says it's gonna be lows in the upper 40s, highs in the upper 50s, and maybe getting into the 60s come Saturday, Sunday. But it's not the forecast that is not all that ideal.
This is why I say we should never have national tours in Portland in June, because the weather will cause delays and cancel.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Isn't that the argument?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything should be held in San Diego and just be done.
52 weekends out of the year. The National Tour, the Pro Tour, the World Tour. San Diego every weekend. Dana, I'm going to elaborate on your forecast as I just pulled it up. Estacada, I believe, is what you can punch in on weather.com.
I didn't know there were that many zeros in a percentage.
Friday shows a high of 61 with 90% chance of PM thunderstorms. Saturday shows thunderstorms 90%. And Sunday AM, 60 degrees again with 50% chance of rain and thunderstorms.
Ugh.
That sounds absolutely miserable. I'm going to rethink my plans about going.
Oh, that's right, you're going.
I'm
not.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a forecast on the bright side. It might not be that bad.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, Portland, this time of year, it's a little bit early, and, we're a little earlier in June, so it's kind of what you deal with. If we're maybe a few weeks later, they'd be into their 75 and sunny every day and no worries. But I'm not ready to jump ship and get all salty about the forecast. I'll take it as it comes, but not thrilled about the forecast. But I don't know. We only have, I think Friday we play 2 rounds, and then Saturday 1, Sunday 1.
Yeah,
and
I'll get to that in a moment. I'll get to that in just a moment. I just wanted to follow up. One thing that I've always noticed is whenever you have a gorgeous forecast, you're like, it's supposed to be bright and sunny, and it's going to be gorgeous this weekend, and everyone's always jacked about it. And whenever you have a bad forecast, you're always like, that's going to change. That's going to change. And maybe that's just optimism. But it's funny how internally I think most of us immediately want to say, that's got to be wrong. That's going to change. There's no way it's going to do that. Or, we've got 3 or 4 days yet. It's not going to do that. Kind of like what you just said.
I always look at the day before and the day after, and I think if it's raining the day before and the day after, or right around there, I think, odds are we're gonna get rained on.
Well, let's hope that it does change, and we'll all remain optimistic. And
that's right.
Johnny V will be dry no matter what, and Dana, I won't be.
So the question is, Dana, are you going to throw up a course record at Beaver State like you did at Utah?
Course record.
I'm considering.
If you put up 3 1075 rated rounds at Beaver State, I got you for a solid second.
Yeah, I was gonna say you only lose to
Paul
one of them
and Ricky by like 2 strokes,
2 or 4.
If it's raining, he's got that raincoat magic.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. But I've actually historically I've had some pretty good rounds out at Milo. I think this is probably my 5th or 6th Beaver State fling. I played Worlds, but I think the second day we were at Milo during Worlds, I think I fired off the best score for the day. So
fact check.
I've
got a few good ones in there, but I'm not quite sure I'll be able to touch that course record because would Macbeth shoot like a 48 on the west? I'm not sure what the other one is, but those are really, really good rounds. Where my best rounds are only in the low 50s.
Well, we can talk about Beaver State Fling next week, and we can talk about it later. Let's talk about some of the things that happened last week, Dana. Let's go over the Utah Open. We're going to talk to Brandon later, so we'll skip out on the Amateur World Championship. And for the first time, really, this year, you're going to talk about an event that you were actually at. So tell us what you saw and how the course was and how the play was.
Man, Utah Open is an awesome event. The tournament director, Jade Sewell, and his staff, they're the staff and the TDs that go above and beyond on everything. Free food, player parties, all kinds of things going on. Utah Open has it all, and then they have a great place to actually host the event that has some family-friendly activities there with Toad's Fun Zone, go-karts, putting, etc. There's some food on site. Course, it's on a golf course, so we are playing a different style of disc golf. It's not your traditional, we'll say, but it was a little bit longer, a lot of out of bounds, but a different style. And I enjoy getting out on the golf course just as much as I enjoy throwing discs in the woods. So a lot of fun, especially when you throw the disc pretty good. And I, as you alluded to, threw pretty well, but not as good as, say, Ricky Wysocki, who led wire to wire pretty much. Ricky went 50, 51, 47, and if you don't know, he aced, finished his final hole. I hope everybody watching already knows that and has watched the video a few times. Jeremy Colling on the card, SportsCenter ace, top 10. Josh Anton came out, and I was kind of interested to see how Anton would do on this more wide open and longer course. But if you haven't watched the footage, he
did all right.
He can throw pretty far. Yeah, he did all right, but he could throw really far. I didn't know with his, coming off the knee injury and we weren't really playing on a whole lot of golf courses, I feel, three years ago, and so kind of it's the same game, but it's a different style. And Josh proved that not only can he play the traditional courses really well, but he can go out on a golf course style disc golf course and crush. He had a slow start with 55, which was only 10-15 rated, and then he went 49-47, which was 10-58, 10-66, which was good enough for second place. He capped off the event with a death putt on 18 after Ricky had aced to seal the win. I think if he would have went out of bounds and took in a 4, we might have tied, but he stepped up and drilled it like the pro he is, and his final round was really good. He made about every putt he had, a lot of birdies out there, and again, 10-66 rated round, but it wasn't the hot round for the weekend.
It was not. Nope. That belongs to you, Dana. Now,
some sub 1,000 rated guy got lucky, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. You look at that, and I was talking to a good friend of ours today, Steve Held, and he was like, "Wow, Dana really put up some numbers." And I was like, "Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Dana's a really good golfer. He has everything he needs to play well." And he's like, "I just didn't think he could really crush like that." And forgive me if I'm wrong, but that particular golf course, while there were some long holes, it looked like there were really only 2 or 3 that having a big crush really put you in a birdie zone as opposed to everybody else. I saw Drew Gibson crush a few drives that it looked like really only he was getting to. And other than that, it was playing smart golf, right? Avoiding the OBs.
Yeah. Yeah, there were 2 par 3s that were on the tee sign over 500 feet. And those are definitely out of my range. So I was playing those for 3s. So I was playing it as a par 4. If I 3 it, it's a birdie. And get 2s. Like the final round, I think hole 11 or 12 is one of those long holes, and my whole card put it in the circle, and I'm playing like a speed 10 CD3 or 11, whatever it is, just playing it into the fairway, playing it safe, and then chipping up. And so a couple times I really didn't I wasn't really attacking where a lot of these other guys were, but when you attack is when you can get in trouble on those holes with all the out of bounds. So aside from those 2, my lack of distance wasn't really hurting me because I was I was content just playing it into the fairway and then taking my par. And then with some of the par fours, I just, same thing, just put it in the fairway and then set myself up for maybe a little bit longer of an upshot for birdie. But yeah, Anton, and going back to Anton, he did get one of those really long par threes, which I was a little surprised. He's smashing a red Excalibur like on a huge turnover line, and he got it up there and hit the putt. But yeah, for me, I was laying those up, and so really my round, I don't know if it was 12 under par, but for me that was like a 14 under par because those holes are setting up closer to a par four for me and my distance.
Well, one of the things, and I know I talked about it a number of times during the first and the third rounds when we were covering Josh Anton on the featured card or the lead card, he was saying before the tournament, he's like, I don't throw as far as these guys. He knows that they have a distinct distance advantage, especially when you look at his really good friend in Drew Gibson and you look at Ricky Wysocki and Jeremy Colling. He knows that they all throw further, and he said, I'm going to have to be flexing these shots out there. I'm going to throw big turnovers that are going to have to come back out of it. And these other guys are throwing hyzers for the most part and able to still, outdrive him. But then we got to one of the longest holes on the course. Now, it needed a little bit more control, but we got to one of the longest holes on the course, which was hole 5. And I believe during the first round, he outdrove the entire group. He threw a flex shot. Threw a red Star Boss pretty extensively throughout the weekend from what I saw, but he threw a full flex. Anheuser, a Boss, the one that I saw, I believe it was a Boss.
He's throwing both of them. He's throwing a Boss and an X-Cal because at De La he threw a lot of turnover X-Cals, which was kind of odd. Like for distance, whenever he needed to do a couple of things. The kitchen, he threw a turnover X-Cal for some reason.
Sure. So, but it was certainly something that I noted that he had outdriven everyone else on the group during that hole. And again, that hole, you're playing it for a 3 and you're just trying to set up to be in a good position. But it was kind of funny to see him outdrive Big Germ and Wysocki a couple of times. So, although he thought he was at a distinct disadvantage, we saw him putting some huge shots out there. I think it's interesting that he goes with the Big Annie to try and get as much distance as possible on hole 1, which brings a lot more danger into play on that hole. Like, if you can avoid throwing the Annie there, you should and would, but not Josh Anton. He threw it
aggressive.
Threw it right where you needed to get the maximum distance out of that, throwing a turnover shot. So shows confidence in his game, shows his execution, and it shows how smart he is and thinks about his shot selection and his shot shaping.
Yeah, that his drive on, I really liked his attack on 1 because to get the max D, you got to take that really tight, or that tight for that course line on the left, and it can definitely bring a lot of action into play. But I loved it. It was fun to see. He played fearless and putted fearless, and it's cool to see. And it'll be fun to see him attack these Milo courses this weekend, which are, I would say, set up a little bit better for his style. So.
I said it. I think you and I were speaking at one point, Terry, and I was saying that I think Ricky right now is the best putter in our game. From about 40 to 70, 40 beyond, we'll say. But I think inside the circle and maybe to about 40 feet, I don't think there's a better putter still than Josh Anton. I don't think he's lost a step. He has a deadly dart that just, it's on a line right where he wants it almost every time. There's a touch of flex or Annie in it, but for the most part, it is just right where he wants to put it.
Well, I'll follow that up and say,
Yep.
Dana, you were talking about hole 18, and we stepped up to hole 18, of course, the shenanigans. Ricky throws it an ace, blah, blah, blah. But Ricky's up by 3, obviously then closing the door, making it impossible for Josh to catch him. And Steve Dodge and I were commentating at that point, and Steve had said, by looking at the scores, he said, he's got second locked up. All he has to do is throw this under the basket. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever for him to run that putt. Only bad can result from that putt if it doesn't go in. Only, I mean, one stroke would be, but it's almost a guaranteed 2 strokes. Almost guaranteed by doing that or taking an extra unnecessary stroke, because it's almost impossible from that angle to not go OB unless you hit low and in front of the basket and it happens to drop straight down and then not roll. But sure enough, Josh doesn't look at the scores. Josh doesn't care. Josh wants to shoot good golf, and he runs that putt, which is it makes 0 sense. It absolutely makes 0 sense in the context of the tournament for him to run that putt. And what's he do? He runs it, hits it right in the center of the chains, stays ahead of you, and takes home the second place $2,000 paycheck. So, which he had locked up anyway had he just thrown it underneath the basket. But Josh doesn't care. Josh very much has a mentality, and as a competitor, we've known this for a really long time. Josh, I think it's a Ricky Bobby quote out there somewhere, like, if you're not first, you're last. He does not care. He is there to take first place, and if he takes second or 22nd, it doesn't matter to him. He wants first place, and that's all he cares about. So he's aggressive and going for it all the way through the last putt. It just simply doesn't matter. It's crazy.
Yep. Now, Terry, did you end up with the second place trophy?
I didn't. I have his World's trophy. I think I have a couple of his trophies because, again, he doesn't care. But no, I did not get the trophy from that particular event. He didn't offer it to me. I should have asked him for it, though, because, again, I don't even know if he cares about first place trophies, but he definitely does not care about any trophy that's not first place.
So as we said, Ricky won. Josh took second. Our very good friend Dana took third. Who finished a couple strokes behind you, Dana?
Everyone.
Oh, well, we had Austin Turner had a really good second and third round. He finished tied for fourth with AB, Anthony Barela, and Jeremy Colleen. They all tied for fourth place. Dustin Keegan, Drew Gibson finished tied for seventh. But let's jump over to the women's side because no one wants to hear about 10th place on the men's side. We had a 5-person FPO division. It started out as 5 with Paige Pierce, Madison Walker, Amy Bildo, Katrina, and Jessica Weiss. After the first round, it was really tight, a 3-way tie between Paige, Jessica, and Katrina. And then Madison won back and Amy a few back from that. But then, unfortunately, Paige, her mom was having some medical issues back home. So Paige went home, middle of the tournament, went home to be with her family. And so we went from a 5-person field to a 4. And it was a really tight race between Jessica and Kat. Amy and Madison battled out for third and fourth, but it ended up Jessica and Kat shot the same score all 3 rounds. So went to a playoff, ended up on hole 3. Jay Weezy, Jessica Weiss took down first place over Kat. Amy Bilodeau in her very first FPO tournament finished in third place, and Madison finished in fourth. Madison's still getting over that wrist injury. She's not throwing a whole lot of sidearms, which, as most of you know, is her bread and butter. She's worked in the backhand. So even though she's injured, I would say that her game is going to continue to get better as long as she gets healthy because she's adding confidence and distance with this backhand that she's been working on. So I went Jessica, Kat, Amy, Madison. And pretty exciting stuff to watch. If you haven't seen it, Terry, where can they watch it?
They can find that all on the Disc Golf Guy YouTube channel. Rounds 1, 2, and 3, all out there. What do they say? Next day, all day? I can't steal their line, but all of them were up either late that night or into the next morning. Every single one of those videos were posted, and I've got an interesting side story to talk about a little bit later that we don't necessarily need you for, but we'll talk about coverage and some of those other things a little later. I've compiled a few numbers and things to talk about to elaborate on just that. But yes, the Disc Golf Guys channel,
Okay.
they're all out there. They're all available. All 3 of the rounds. Spoiler alert, there was a little playoff that's also included at the end of the 3rd round. So certainly go out there and take a look.
It's a good playoff.
Yeah, definitely. To close out on this, another successful Disc Golf Pro Tour event. I'd suggest if you guys are looking for a place to go, Utah Open is a great event. Ogden was a really nice town or city. There's a lot to do, a lot of good restaurants, a lot of extras at the event. Waterfall hike right there in town, literally. The mountains are right there. All in all, A+ event. So consider it in the future. Now let's move to the other side of the world.
And
the
while you
360 Open, which was in. Yeah.
I was going to say, as you transition over to that real quickly, I would like to extend, on behalf of Johnny and myself, and of course the Pro Tour, I just want to extend another heartfelt thank you to Jade and to Rob and the entire crew. And Milldog, who I know wasn't there, Mike Milne, who's had so much to do with helping promote that event and get it out there and get professionals to it, and it being unsanctioned for a number of years, but this amazing event that it's been. And then to finally be there to experience it. We've seen it on pictures, featured in the Innova calendar and other places, and we've seen champions like Paul Ulibarri and Jeremy Colling and Katrina win there and have this gorgeous venue to play at. And so for me to be there, to visit Utah, to experience it, and I know my cameramen Chad and Rick thought it was nothing short of amazing and mesmerizing. But really, it was Rob and it was Jade were my 2 closest contacts, and I can't say enough about the hospitality and the sincere, warm welcome that they gave us as crew, as media, and I feel like they did that to everyone, obviously to the players and beyond. It's really. It feels really good to go to a venue and to go to an event and have so many people always asking, like, I'm not going to lie, I almost got sick of people asking me, do you need anything? Because they just asked it so often and they were just so awesome. And of course I didn't get sick of it, but it was just awesome to be there. And I feel like there was just this mutual love and respect that went both ways for not only their event and their venue, but then also for what we do in our craft and the coverage, both live and recorded. So thank you guys so much. I think Rob might even be on the board, but Rob, Jade, the entire Utah Open crew, the Water Dogs, just Mulligans, Creekside, just everyone that's involved with that event. It was just over the top amazing. So if you ever have a chance to go play there and experience it, make sure you do. So sorry, I wanted to get all that in because it's super. It was. There's a lot of great events, but when you know kind of when you go to the next level of an event and the next tier, and I certainly put them way up on that next tier because they were amazing.
Agreed. As I was saying before you interrupted me, Al Sweden, the 360 Open. I don't know if anyone follows Seppo Paju or Vanessa Van Dyken on Instagram, but if you guys aren't, you should check them out. They were at the event and posting a lot of pictures and videos of these courses. I think 2 private courses on site. The land looked absolutely unbelievable. The courses looked like a ton of fun. 115 total players. It was an A-tier event. Winning first place on the men's side was Seppo Paju. I think he shot a couple course records. And then finishing second, 9 throws behind him, was our Henrik Johansson. And then Jesper Lundmark came out and played some disc golf. He shot a couple thousand rated rounds, maybe a little rusty. He's not playing as much as he used to, but for those that don't know, he was Europe's elite player for quite some time with Latitude 64, and really, really good player. But I believe he's started a family and amongst other things and isn't as playing as much. But he got 3rd place in the field of 65. On the women's side, Sophie Sandstrom took 1st place by 10 throws over Vanessa Van Dyken, and Camilla Grunden finished in third place. Terry, is that the Camilla that used to come over to the States and play?
It is. I believe that it is. Yeah, she
Okay.
a few years ago got married and has been playing. It sounds like pretty much over there, not as much over here. And yeah, I believe that it is.
All right. So nice to see her playing again as well. But that place looked absolutely epic, and I imagine the way Tomas Ekstrom was talking about this event on Facebook and this location, that we're going to see more high caliber events here in the future, and hopefully see some video coverage from there. But I want to hop back to the States, over to Missoula, Montana for one of my favorite events. I've played in this one a few times, the Zootown Open, presented by Inc. Realty Group. My brain's not working. But anyways, A-tier event at one of the funnest mountain courses there is, Blue Mountain. And Christian Dietrich came out and slayed first round. Shot a 45, which was 1072 rated. For reference, Smashy Jordan Castro shot a 51 first round, which was 1015 rated. So Christian just absolutely destroyed. I think Jordan was in second place after the first round, but just destroyed the field. And from there, he coasted to a victory and won himself $1,085. Finishing in second place, Justin Cornier, and then Matt Miller in third. Seth White rounded out fourth place. So I'm sad I missed it, but Utah was awesome. This is another one of those great events. Brian Bjorn puts on a heck of a show, and Missoula is just a great place to visit. On the women's side, there was 8 total players, and kind of surprising, I'm not quite sure, but Karina Knowles from Salt Lake City went over and played in the event, and she went wire to wire. She shot a 53, 996 rated first round. Then she went 926, 970 to finish and win by, I think, 13 throws over Erica Stinchcomb. And then finishing in third place was Sai Par Ananda. But great shooting by Karina. I wonder if she is going to be at she will be at Beaver State Fling, so that'll be interesting to see if she can keep it rolling with those numbers. If she came out and shot the ratings she shot last week, and I'd say probably going to see her up towards the top.
Is it an interesting? I know you just talked about how great that event is up in Missoula, but is it interesting that like a Karina opts out of? You said she's from Salt Lake City, correct? So she opts out of playing from in her hometown where the Disc Golf Pro Tour is to go up to that event. Do you feel like that's course or there's, I don't want to say easier money, but if just different competition there, or what do you suppose that is?
I'm not going to try to guess, but maybe she, friends, family, whatever it might be over in Missoula. As I said, they do put on a really great event over there at the Zootown. So I don't want to guess. So I'm going to leave it at that. But she went and shredded. It would have been, would have been interesting to see if she put those numbers up in Utah. She probably would have walked away with the victory. So Jessica Weiss, Kat, are probably happy that she went to Missoula instead.
Well, Mill Dog is on the board, and he obviously has quite the tie to that area. He said that she does not like the Creekside course or Mulligan's course. So for whatever that means, maybe there's just not enough trees there or obstacles for her. Maybe it's a distance thing. Who knows? But that's what he's saying, is that she just doesn't like the course, which is I will back that all day long. If you don't like the course or it doesn't suit your style and you feel like you can go find another competitive event that you'd rather attend, I don't have a problem with that. I just struck me as a little odd when you say she's from that area and chooses to go elsewhere when a big event comes to town. So, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's all I got for you. There were 8 tiers elsewhere. St. Louis, Nico LaCastro went to his hometown and held it down. And then Tennessee State Championships, another 8 tier. Chris Dickerson got back to his winning ways down south and got the victory there. So, but plenty of other tournaments. I know you guys are going to talk AmNats here. Just want to give a congratulations to the winner and all the guys from Illinois. Dylan finished in second. We had Ryan NYC in the top 5. Anthony Ippolito in the top 5. So a lot of great talent continuing to come out of Illinois, even though we did not get the victory this year. So
one of them will probably win Am Worlds or something. It's, you know.
Yeah. Does this will be your parting shot on the night? Am Worlds is right around the corner. We'll say it's just about a month away. It's held in the Quad Cities, which is in the corner of Illinois and Iowa. Is an Am Worlds champion going to again? At one point, we had 3 years in a row of Am Worlds champions coming out of Illinois. Is this going to be another year of Am World champ hailing from the great state, the fib land of Illinois?
Yep, I'd say yes. I know Dylan Lotak has been wavering whether or not he's going to continue to play Am, but it sounds like he's going to hold out and play Worlds. Got to say, like last weekend, he's going to be the favorite going into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, he's going to practice hard over this next month and get some revenge and get himself a world title and keep it in Illinois.
Okay, so there it is, Dana Vici. We'll talk later. I think maybe our U.S. Am champion may have may disagree with some of your predictions, but as Am Worlds rolls around the corner in the next few weeks, we'll certainly be talking a little bit about that and have some predictions. Maybe there'll be even we'll have to come up with some either one-off or part of the fantasy disc golf. I think we should have Am Worlds in some kind of capacity there. Is that
possible?
Is that tough because they're not pulling from the same database table people?
I can do it.
Yeah, Johnny can
I can
do it. He can't make Skype work tonight, but he can. All right, Dana. Anything else before we let you go? And I'm going to provide some shout-outs when we let you go. But anything else from you, buddy?
No, I just want to say thanks to everybody for the congratulations and kind words. It was fun to throw a good round and do it at a big event and get a course record. I appreciate all the love. And Terry, I'll see you out here in a few days. And, yeah, you guys have a nice evening.
All right, pal. Thanks for joining us. Great shooting this weekend. Great finish. And looking for you to get back to some of that Beaver State Fling or Milo action. I did fact-check you. I'll leave you with this. I fact-check you. You were, in fact, tied for the hottest round of 51 during that World Championships. It was the 4th round. It was rated 1061 along with Kyle Crabtree. He also tied you for the hot round, but it was, in fact, the lowest score, besting the McBeast by 2 strokes. Psh, all day. Ain't no thing for Dynamite. But, yes, the hottest round was, in fact, carded by yourself and Kyle Crabtree. So just throw the 4 hottest rounds this weekend.
There was actually that day.
There were what?
Yeah.
What was that? All right, we lost you. Good. That's a good way to end it.
All right, Dana, have a good one, and stay dry.
Enough compliments for you, I guess. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and recognize Super Chat is something that's on the YouTube page. There's a little $sign. We don't push it. We don't really even talk about it much. But a few people decide to get a little crazy with it tonight, and we're okay with that.
Yeah, bless their hearts.
Thank you so much. First of all, he's donated a handful of times. He did so tonight. The login is tired of crap. I don't know his real name, but apparently he's not tired of our crap because he's donated, he or she, so thank you so much. Otto Dilly has, I think, donated multiple times here tonight. Tim Sanders and Rob Bolin are all names that I saw jump in on our Super Chat. So we appreciate it. If you have something to say, it highlights itself. It makes it huge and lets us know. And then when you attach any dollar figure to it, it just shows up bigger and bold, more prominent for on YouTube. That's not even us. That's all YouTube done. So thank you to all those people who tonight have graciously sent something our way. We really appreciate it. Of course, we appreciate our Patreon and all our other options, but thank you so much. Again, tired of crap. Otto Dilly, Tim Sanders, Rob Bolin, and I think Otto even donated more than once. And SETI111. Sorry, I was making my list. SETI111. I said SETI. I won't even give you a hard time now tonight since you did that. Well, not till the after show. So thank you to all of you. You guys are amazing. All right, Johnny, I think in a moment we're going to be dialing up our U.S. AM Nationals champion. That was a PDGA major that took place over in Michigan, the famed toboggan course that so many people have talked about. That's really a temporary course that challenges so many aspects of everyone's game. And whenever we see the U.S. AM champion come from there, more often than not, like in AM Worlds, we usually see them perform quite well and move into the pro ranks at some time. But the AM Nationals, along with AM Worlds, are two of the biggest titles you could possibly achieve at our amateur level.
Should we ask him if he's going to be a good pro?
We'll ask him if he is. Let's
All right.
welcome him to the show, Brandon Oleskie. Brandon, welcome to Smashbox. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We're doing well. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. A little haphazard here night for us, but you graciously made yourself available, so thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
So we readily admit you're not a name that we know. You're out of Michigan, so you're not too far from us. But, you know, like Dana just mentioned, I know a lot of the Illinois names because they come and play in Wisconsin, and I visit Michigan from time to time. But introduce yourself, kind of give us a little of your background.
All right. My name's Brandon Oleskie. I'm from Shelby Township, Michigan. I've been playing disc golf for about 10 years now, but I finally just picked it up, like, seriously, probably about 2 to 3 years ago now, and just currently got my PDGA number last year, right before AM Nats, a couple months before that.
So that's interesting. You say you've been playing about 10 years, but what was it that didn't bring you necessarily into competitive PDGA play until a year or so ago?
To be honest, I really didn't know much about how big disc golf was. Actually, 2 older cousins got me into it when I was younger, and I would just be more of like a recreational player going out for casual leagues and casual rounds and leagues around the home area and stuff like that.
And then one day you Googled and you came across Smashbox, and you're like, oh, I need to get serious about it. Okay, maybe not. But seriously, you live in, like us, you live in a very saturated, a very disc golf rich area. You know, believe it or not, most people may or may not realize Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, like that is the single best hotbed, you know, regionally. If you're going to go to one area of the country, we really have usually the most courses, most of the PDGA events, a ton of PDGA players, and you're in that hotbed. What has it been like for you to enter into this scene and then become the competitor that you are?
To be honest, it's kind of nerve-wracking, everything that just happened over the weekend, like a little bit. Like, I don't think it's fully set in yet.
What? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, walk us through your rounds a little bit. Again, we readily admit we were really preoccupied over in Utah, and I kind of kept an eye on what was going on. But kind of walk us through, you know, the end of each day, how many rounds it is, so on and so forth. But walk us through that.
Well, so the first round, I mean, coming from Michigan, as everybody knows, the course only comes in for a week. So no one really gets to practice the course at all. And I went out and practiced my first round on Thursday and shot a pretty decent round. And the way I was looking at it was like, if I can just shoot for par 3s on every hole, as we do here in Michigan, I should hopefully come out pretty well this year.
Yeah, and looking at the scores, you were really close to that. I mean, you shot 55 the first day, which I believe puts you in the early lead. Yeah, you were one ahead of Dylan after that day.
Yeah.
How did that round, the opening round, did you tee off late or early, and then how did that round feel to you?
I teed off at 10:42, and I felt very comfortable. Being from Michigan, I felt like in my home environment, so that helped a lot, keep my nerves down a little bit. But the whole round just went really smooth. Like, I wasn't trying to deuce anything. I wasn't trying to go for huge shots. I was just trying to play really smart, consistent golf.
And then on the second day, you came back out with one of the hottest rounds as well, or if not the hottest.
Looks like the
second hottest round?
Tied for the second hottest. There were 3 people at 55. Brandon shot a 56.
Yeah, correct.
What did you try to make any anything different? Did
Any
you
adjustments?
yeah, any adjustments whatsoever?
To be honest with you, the first round went really smooth. But when in the second round, the only thing I really wanted to adjust was my putting. I felt a little shaky. I didn't feel fully committed to all of my putts. So during the second round, I tried committing, but I was still just hitting the front of the cage all day the second round. Like, just a little outside the circle. Pretty much everything inside the circle, I was probably about 80%. I would say I was shooting pretty well inside the circle, but outside the circle, I was just hitting cage all day. But I couldn't really complain. I came out on top.
Yeah, certainly. And then finally moving into the third day, the scores overall were a little bit higher. There was a really hot 54 by Ryan, who finished ultimately in third. But it seemed like the scores were just tailing off a little bit. Was there anything different about the third day? Wind, rain,
I think I
exhaustion?
I think I saw Marty Gregoire post a couple minutes before the tee off that the wind was really kind of crazy, correct?
Oh, it actually Saturday night into Sunday morning we got thunderstorms. So the early people that had to tee off, all the pads were still wet. It was kind of raining a little bit, but the time we teed off at 2 o'clock, the rain stopped, but the wind started picking up. I would say probably like 15 to 20-mile-an-hour gusts.
Which is very, very impactful out on that course. So for those, you said it in that you only get to see, that course is really only in the ground 1 week out of the year. If you live nearby, you may or may not, take some time to go, walk it or be out there. But it's kind of a beast just to walk or to, visit. Describe the course from your perspective, especially knowing you have a lot of really solid courses over there in that area of Michigan. But describe the course to everyone else out there, or maybe compare it to anything else you may have seen or something more generic that other people might be able to relate to.
To be completely honest, I haven't really seen another course like Toboggan. I mean, you had the first opening hole like 450 feet downhill, and then followed up by a par 5 800-foot shot up the hill. It's just, the course this year just looked immaculate. Like, I got to give it to John Minicucci for being a great TD this year, and Kensington Park for pulling everything together. Like, the fairways looked groomed, the tee pads were great, everything. Like, it's pretty immaculate looking this year.
Yeah, I think and I know we've brought it up before, but when we played 100 years ago, it was a rough course. Like, it's been, I mean, and as you say, it's only in a week of the year, but even then, it's been beaten down a little bit. And
yes.
I wouldn't want to go play that at course. That's a long, grueling up and down hills in thankfully in early June as opposed to July or August when I think we played it. But it's
thick.
It's thick and it's tough. It is a tough course. So, what did you do this weekend that set you just a little bit above your competitors? What did you see? What was the strengths of your game?
To be honest, I was trying to stay in the fairway. I mean, everybody can say that they're trying to stay in the fairway, but I was throwing a lot of safe shots this weekend. I wasn't trying to go huge for everything. I was just trying to play good up shots where I wouldn't have to have a huge putt, just a nice, easy 20-30 footer compared to a 40-50 footer. Mm-hmm. I wasn't trying to overshoot anything or anything like that.
Do you know how many twos did you have on the weekend? Do you know?
If I'm not mistaken, I think I had 3 the first round, 3 and 4. Okay. So I had quite a few.
All right, that's good. I mean, you need them out there because you need to make up some strokes to try to stay around even because you're going to take a few 4s. So
yeah, yes.
What would you say at any point was there a hiccup, and if so, how did you recover from it?
Actually, hole 2. The second round, I unfortunately sawed one off a little early, and it went on the left side, and there wasn't really any shot. Like, I kind of maybe could have pulled the hyzer and tried to get up the hill, but instead of going for that, I kind of just played the safe shot to the middle, and then was able to throw a 400 shot uphill to be able to take my safe tap-in 4.
What's a 450-foot uphill shot you threw?
Probably about a 4 to 450 uphill shot.
How far do you throw on, let's just say, flat ground? We're on the internet, so you can make up a number. So it's.
I would say consistently probably about 450.
Okay, so pretty consistent.
So you put everything into it and able to make the recovery.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So what has been, I know you said you're just still kind of soaking it all in, but naturally there's some form of sponsorship that gets offered by sometimes one or more companies that follow this big victory. Has that come about? Are you weighing out options? Anything you need to break exclusively here on SmashBoxx?
Do you need a manager? Let us know. We're here for you.
Currently, right now, I am just sponsored by Team Detroit Zits Company. It's local, and Team Under 54, Aaron Gabriel. He actually picked me up right before the tournament, and
Smart move.
Yeah. And as of that, anything after, Bob Julio from Discraft talked to me a little bit and said he will give me a contact later this week, and we'll talk over some things. So other than that, that's the only thing that's happening as of now.
How does that feel?
Feels good. I mean, I throw a lot of Discraft being from Michigan. I mean, one of my go-to things in my bag is my Buzz. I mean, if I need any kind of shot, I go to my Buzz.
Okay. Otto has had a question out there that was right on par with something I alluded to and was going to ask as well. Am Worlds or any other big events that we're going to plan on seeing you at this year?
I will be at Am Worlds this year.
Okay.
And then a couple months after that, I will probably be most likely making an appearance at Ottawa Open.
Okay.
So,
Disc Golf Pro Tour?
correct. That
Okay.
will be my first one.
That'll be. Are you going to be playing Open there? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to play.
It's not the Disc Golf Am Tour.
I know. I'm just making sure.
Hey-o!
Sometimes those events will run two different concurrent things. I just didn't know. So after Am Worlds, you plan on going pro. No, I just, no offense. I sorted the Am Disc Golf Championships by rating, and it took me a little ways to scroll down to find you. You're 942 rated player. Clearly, I think that first round they set it up by rating. So what they thought was the top players that were going to finish were all playing together, and then you jumped up in there. Do you just not have a lot of rounds on your score? I mean, clearly you're a very good player. Are we going to see your rating jump up over the next year?
I'm hoping my rating will jump up. I mean, in Michigan, our rating sometimes can get messed around with a little bit, but with winter golf too, I actually had my first year winter tournaments, and unfortunately I knocked it down a little bit, but I will be on my way of bringing that back up here shortly, hopefully.
Good.
What are some of the courses and the events that you play? And I think about that because Johnny B and I used to travel to Michigan quite a bit, so we're kind of familiar, although it's been a while. What are some of the courses you play? And
you're northwest of Detroit, correct? Or north of?
Correct.
Okay, so
I'm about 40 to 40, probably about 45 minutes north of Detroit.
Okay.
I would say my home course is Stony Creek. I probably play that religiously. I would say I play there once a week. Every Friday night league, I play there.
Okay.
And one of my all-time favorites is also Addison. Addison's a really good course.
I was going to say, do you get to Ann Arbor much? I know that was always a big hot spot when back in the day.
Yeah, not as much as I would like to, but I do get over to that side a little bit. Also, Lansing area, Birchfield. I do like Birchfield a lot. It's a great course. It's a huge arm course. I mean,
what's your favorite Michigan course to play?
Favorite Michigan course.
Or what do you think is what do you feel is the best Michigan course?
Ooh. Well, I would have to go with Toboggan as of only being in for a week. But other than that, I do really like, there's a course up in Stamford, Michigan called the Jungle. I've only played it a couple times, but it has a lot of different shots there, long and technical.
Good.
What? So you just mentioned that you're playing in Am Worlds, and then you're going to be playing in the Pro Tour. Do you see yourself as then just officially going pro regardless after Am Worlds, regardless of where you finish? Is that kind of the plan?
Yes, correct. After Am Worlds, I will be officially moving up to pro.
Okay.
Is there a tour in your future? Is there what are your future plans? What do you do for a living, if you don't mind asking, if anything?
I'm actually currently laying off right now, just playing a lot of disc golf and seeing where it takes me as of right now.
Okay. What were your interests or your some of the work you had done before that?
I've actually bartended pretty much my whole life,
Okay.
and I worked at country clubs. at golf courses, and I recently just left that to, unfortunately, it was taken up the same time as our golf season.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Well, I was just going to say with that profession and both of them, whether it's at the country club, bartending, whatever, we know from a lot of our professionals. I think of a Shasta who has bartended for many years, and obviously that, your big money nights are usually Friday and Saturday nights, which very quickly and easily can conflict with an early Saturday and early Sunday tournament round. So your money making, yeah. So I could certainly see how that could conflict. And it makes sense that maybe there's a change of pace one way or another for you to move forward. What are some of the things that excite you as you're going to be moving into the professional ranks and dipping your toes or playing exclusively there eventually? What are some of the things that you most look forward to, now that you've gotten into competitive play just in the last couple of years? Is it other players? Is it other courses? Is it tours? What are some of the things that you most look forward to?
I'm really excited to hopefully next year go on tour.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily say the whole tour, but at least play quite a few tour events next year and see just some of the courses to see how much different they are from what I'm used to.
You're spoiled in Michigan. I feel the same way about us in Wisconsin. The courses, they're relatively similar in a lot of aspects, but we are spoiled when it comes to our courses. We're used to it doesn't surprise us when we see a 280-foot tunnel shot, and you go other places in the country and you might not necessarily see those. There's only a few areas where you see a lot of really tight wooded courses. So you're gonna get used to a lot more open courses, is what I'm gonna say.
I will be perfectly okay with that.
Yeah, throwing 450 feet, it sounds like you will be. Somebody's asking on the board, how old are you?
I'm 25.
25. Okay.
So you've got certainly youth on your side, which is great. Who are some of the people, whether they're locals or even on the national level? Who are some of the people that you either look up to or follow or aspire or try to emulate?
Be completely honest with you, a person that was just entered into my life not that long ago through the girlfriend. George Bino, he's sponsored by Discraft. He's a Discraft player. He's been helping me out a lot, like keeping me under control, like my head game, helping with my mental game a lot, which is huge.
Okay. Yeah, George, we saw him last year on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, toured around quite a bit, earned himself a Pro Tour card, and like you said, I think having that mentor, that person that you can look to, being sponsored and everything else is great, but having that person to, for you to be under their wing in any capacity, and it sounds like maybe the mental side. What do you feel like you've learned the most on the mental side, or something maybe that you struggled the most with?
He actually helped me out a lot this weekend. He was walking me through a lot of things, like after each round, and just like taking every shot one shot at a time, not looking at a tournament as 3 days in a row, just taking it one day at a time, one shot at a time.
Okay, well that's sounds like pretty sound advice, to only worry about the next shot that's coming up and to immediately forget about the last one, no matter how good or bad it was. Have a short-term memory and then just focus on the next shot. That makes perfect sense. Do you know of, and it's asked on the board, Ronald Harkey, great smashy out there, does this qualify you necessarily for the USDGC? Do you know if it does or not?
I am not 100% sure. Actually, I just had one of our pro locals ask me that today.
Okay.
And I am not entirely sure yet.
Okay, I'm not sure. I know in years past there's been certainly some exemptions for Am World champions, U.S. Amateur champions, so on and so forth, but I know they've gone through a number of different qualifying procedures throughout the years. So 5 years ago or 10 years ago I would have said absolutely it does, but I'm not sure what they're doing this year. Would that I would have to guess that'd be something that would interest you if you in fact earned a position into that?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Okay. I'm looking through your PDJ history. Is this your very first win, period?
Yes, as a PDGA member,
PDGA?
That is my first, correct. Yes.
So you step out and your very first win as a major. I don't know if there's a better way to do it, other than maybe being your very first event. But you've got a few of those under your belt, so.
Yes, I can't really complain there at all.
So what's better? This U.S. Am major win or the walk-off ace to win a Pro Tour event?
Ooh, that's a hard question.
I mean, I guess Ricky got the win as well, so a win at the pro level. But this is obviously a very significant win as well.
I'd take the major.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to win a Pro Tour event, but if you're Ricky, that's just another win. It's a cool way to end it, but winning a major is a big deal no matter what the division, whether it's an amateur major or a pro major. So I'll take the major. I don't know about you.
Do you pay attention to any of the other stuff I'll say globally or even across the U.S.? What are some of the other things that you pay attention to, if any?
I'll be completely honest with you. I don't really pay attention too much. I mean, I'll occasionally watch the Pro Tour events at home when I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more out there practicing for myself and seeing where I can go from here.
Ain't nobody got time to sit around and watch disc golf when you can be dominating it.
No doubt.
Correct.
That's one way to do
That's
it.
the only reason you shouldn't be watching SmashBoxx is
Exactly.
if you're out there practicing and winning.
So short term, again, I talked about the Am Worlds is a full 5 or 6 weeks away. Preparations, plans, what else takes place between now and then for you?
A lot of breaking down and working on some putting. That's where I'm gonna try to correct myself. Like I said, I felt a little shaky still at the tournament over the weekend, but it's putting, a lot of putting I'm going to be working on within the next couple of weeks.
Well, I'm going to give you a pro tip, even though I'm a flailing pro these days, but a pro tip nonetheless is after almost every single World Championships victory, usually Am or Pro, when they talk about the keys to success, every one of them, almost, I was keeping a log for years, every one of them would say, well, the month before the championships, I putted for an hour a night or 1,000 putts a night or whatever that number was. But almost every one of them will tell you, I putted. And that'd be my pro tip for you, because every champion says that. I really dialed in my putting before getting there that week. So,
and if we're not breaking anything, I don't think here, but if Innova has a problem or PDGA, they can come to us. It says here the following tournament champions will receive an automatic invitation to compete in the 2017 USDGC. The very first on the list is the 2017 United States Amateur Champion.
Well, there you go.
Boom.
Yeah.
Exclusive. Posted months ago, but exclusive now.
Yep.
We're breaking the news to you. That
No,
makes it
I guess the
exclusive.
question is that for the amateur? Is the amateur champion for Am Worlds, or is it for?
It says United States Amateur Champion.
That's
it doesn't say
that's
World
what it says.
Champion.
It doesn't say World Champion. So I'm thinking you got yourself a qualification, and if they have any questions, go to Terry.
Did Johnny? Johnny also said he's going to sponsor you if he's wrong. So
Oh, there we go. It's a win-win.
Yeah, I get sponsored to USDGC. It's not going to do you any good. They won't let you in, even if I sponsor you.
that's a good point. I guess we won on that one.
Yeah,
as well.
we make out like bandits.
Well, that is very cool. So hopefully that comes to fruition for you, and hopefully you'll be in Rock Hill come October. You said you throw a lot of discraft. You throw the buzz. Give me your go-to driver and your go-to putter while we're at it.
My go-to putter I actually just switched over the winter. I was throwing Wizards, and I just recently switched to Rubber Blend, the Nate Doss Rubber Blend Challengers. And I have not looked back since.
Okay.
They're awesome. They got a perfect tack-knee feeling, and they feel like they just look like they grab the chains so much better.
Fair enough. Nate would love that answer. Very nice. And
a
primary driver?
My go-to driver right now is actually a Destroyer.
Okay.
I have 6 of them in my bag for all different shots.
Wow.
Okay. I was just going to say, but you also said that you're open and you're flexible to, you have obviously a mixed bag now, but if the right offer comes along, you're going to find a way to make an adjustment and go from there.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Awesome. Very cool. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? We can give you an open mic here. Is there anything else you want to share that maybe we didn't touch on, or that you think that's worthwhile for everyone else to know that's maybe just meeting you or seeing this for the first time tonight?
No, I think I'm pretty close with everything. I don't really know else what to say.
No, it sounds like you had a really great weekend. You battled hard. You had some fierce competition. We know we're going to see you at the next big amateur major, and from there you're going to move on to the professional ranks and dip your toes in the pro tour, and you hope to do more of that as you move into 2018. And I think that all sounds like a pretty solid plan these days.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it.
I think when Bob calls you later this week, don't let him get off with without having you get some private Nate Doss stash of discs. I think Nate has some things. I think that comes with being sponsored. So Nate can call Terry if he's got a problem with that.
Yeah, I certainly have no problem acting as intermediary here. I can I've been known to help a deal or two get passed along. So anything I can do to help, I will. All right, Brandon, if you've got nothing else, final shout-outs, any thanks?
Sponsors.
Relist your sponsors for us, and then we can let you go.
All right, I want to thank Team Detroit Disc Company and Team Under 54, and I want to thank both of my caddies for helping me out this weekend. It was a huge, if I didn't have my caddies, Scott Keekly and Jessica Jaworski, both huge helps this weekend.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you taking the time. Again, we understand it was a little bit short notice, but we thank you so much for joining us and sharing your awesome story with us. And I have a feeling that we'll be seeing and hearing more of you as we move forward into the rest of this year and into 2018. And hopefully I'll have a presence at Am Worlds, and maybe we'll see you on top of the leader card there as well. Sorry, you cut out. You there? Almost had you.
Almost had you.
All right. Okay. Okay. Well,
that's all right.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Have a great night, pal.
Yeah, you too, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care. Wow, that was so
close
solid.
to being perfect.
Almost perfect.
And then Skype gave me a little hiccup.
I closed it out. Solid close on that, and then just Skype decided to hang for 2 seconds. But nonetheless, thank you so much, Brandon. We truly, truly appreciate you joining us, and I think it's awesome to see. He's certainly part of that. I'll use the phrase, the next generation of solid up-and-coming golfers. And
even at his ancient age of 25.
Yes, the ripe old age of 25.
It's kind of funny that we're seeing all these young kids like your Drew Gibson, your Eagle McMahon, Anthony Barella. They're all 20 and under. And then this guy, he shows up and he's 25, and you think, well, gosh, like, half his pro days are behind him, it kind of feels like, when you look at all these other guys. But 25 is so young. He's got 15 more years in the pro division.
Yeah,
so
I think he'll be just fine.
I believe he will be as well. When you throw 450 feet and you're winning AmNats, I have a lot of faith in your future.
Well, I had reached out to her earlier in kind of along the lines of wanting to have Jessica Weiss, who was locked in to join us tonight, and then she had a change of plans, so she actually couldn't join us. She let us know that just before the show was going to get going, so it's unfortunate we couldn't have her. We were excited to do so, but she couldn't make it happen. She's out on the West Coast, obviously out there for the Beaver State Fling. I also briefly had a chance to try and catch up with Ragna Big D Lewis, who many of you have seen and heard at recent World Championships and has been a little bit off the scene. Well, she's been she had a child, not been having one.
She's been having a
well,
child.
I guess for about a 10-month process you've been having one, but she had a child. And this weekend she made a post. Week in and week out we talk about some of the largest women's only disc golf events, and we love seeing them. They're highlighted on the PDGA website, so they're very easy to find. They're becoming more and more popular, and we hope that they just continue to grow and expand. I believe one of the longest running ones and one of the most well-known ones, at least that I've always talked about for years, and they've had a clever name, the Disc Girls Gone Wild, this year presented by Innova. And we saw Ragna at that event this weekend. It was ultimately 3 rounds, and I wanted to talk about it. She shot 967, 976, and 967 golf. Won by 7 strokes over a very formidable competitor in Hannah Leatherman, and played above her rating for all 3 rounds, considerably above her rating, and then took down the victory. So that took place over in Michigan. I wanted to mention it. I think it's awesome to see her out competing again. She said she's ready and getting ready for the World Championships, which is around the corner. And very solid performance out there. She said she was really happy with it. She made a post on Facebook, and I'm going to kind of quickly mention it. She also has the same sponsor as Brandon just a minute ago, talking about under 54. And she said it was an incredible experience. And I'm sorry, she said she's extremely proud of her game and that it's her first big event back from her baby and an illness. So it was, yeah.
She was really starting to make a lot of progression into the upper echelon of the women's division right as she became pregnant, and that kind of just, it stalled out her I won't say her progress, but it just stalled out her momentum, as Ricky would use the word.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to seeing.
I think that's trademarked. I think we owe him money every time you use the word.
Probably, but so I'm looking forward to seeing Ragna get back in the game and back in the sport.
And playing at large-scale competitive events.
Correct.
I know she's played at a number of smaller events within Michigan, and then there's Michigan Winters and all of that other stuff. But to see her then come out and have a solid performance here and then know that she's preparing, I'll throw it out there, if somebody wants a dark horse on the female side, a name that you maybe haven't seen every weekend, like we see our Paige and our Cats and our Sarahs and so on, and our Vals, but Ragna would be a solid pickup. I shouldn't have shared that till later. I should have kept that one under my hat. But great competitor, fierce competitor, and I would not be surprised to see her up in the top 3 or 4 at the World Championships again this year.
Oh, God, yeah, of course.
So congrats. Great win. Great event, as always, from what everyone has said. So nice job.
Can we talk a little bit about Prodigy?
If you'd like to.
I'd like to. We missed a subject last week that was kind of hot on the internet.
Oh.
Regarding disc names.
Oh yeah, we did.
We kind of breezed over it. We were having some issues. You were at a local establishment. It was kind of loud, and it didn't really work out as well as we'd hoped. But we kind of breezed over the fact that Prodigy recently named their disc the X2, which, for those old schoolers know, is a Discraft mold as well. Discraft had the XL, the X2, the XS, the MRX. They kind of had
MRV.
MRV. They kind of had an X series as well. And they're well, Prodigy recently came out, and they're naming their discs their X series as well. I think they've got an X1, now an X2, and an X4, I believe.
Honestly, I'm not sure which.
I'll
look on their site.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which models they are, but the big debate was, should Prodigy have named their disc the X2, even though Discraft has not produced an X2 in
a number of years.
10 years, we'll say. I don't know the exact number, but let's just assume about 10 years. What's the etiquette or protocol on all that?
I like the etiquette.
The etiquette. It's a mixture of an etiquette and a protocol.
No, I like where you went with
what's
that.
the etiquette?
I love your unintentional nomenclature.
Yes.
It is a great question. And I would say officially, the PDGA came back with basically the stance of saying, we're in the business of approving discs to make sure that they fit the PDGA standards. However, we are not in the business of naming discs or of approving the actual names, which is kind of funny because, well, it's not funny. I mean, I guess that holds true if you turn around and then look at the relatively controversial Vibram 420 disc that was released a number of years ago. That was, I believe, officially approved as exactly that disc. And again, the PDGA may have raised an eyebrow or may have made a suggestion or had somewhat of a steered a conversation in a certain way, but they're technically not in the business of approving or denying disc names. They approve or deny the standards. The molds, to make sure the molds fit the standards that are set forth. So it is an interesting question to be had. And I saw some interaction that included Will Schustrick, who of course is a partial owner, along with Paul Ulibarri and Katrina Allen, who both have a certain stake in the company of Prodigy and obviously represent Prodigy in a number of ways. And I think one thing that kind of helped, I don't know if it's fuel the fire, but one of the takes was one of our PDGA board members had actually brought it up on Facebook, Sean Sinclair. It was, I believe, the gentleman that actually kind of initially posted and said, does anyone care that this Prodigy X2 is out and there used to be a Discraft X2? And from there, the argument kind of ensued. So,
and I'll say this, like, everyone's talking about trademarks and this and that. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know enough about it, but I went out and looked for trademarks on any golf disc. I couldn't find one. I couldn't find a trademark. I went to the U.S. Trademark website, and I did a search for Innova discs, Rock, Buzz for Discraft discs. I didn't look for Ultrastar. I should have looked for that, but I didn't think about it at the time. But I looked for a bunch of them. I couldn't find a single trademark. So I don't know if our manufacturers just haven't trademarked them. I don't know if there's some sort of standard that says once you produce something and name it, you don't have to trademark it. It's like a kind of like a sticking your flag in the ground kind of mentality. I don't know for sure, but I'd love to know it. If someone out there knows if these disc names are trademarked, let me know, because I couldn't find it.
And a few people, of course, chiming in on the board, and we appreciate it. And something I guess we've kind of all arrived at. Chainbanger says trademarks are complicated, and it relates to being identified an object and associate it with a brand. And one would think that some of our biggest brands and some of our most successful discs, it would behoove them to spend the coin to have a certain amount of trademarking that's done on them. So I think it is an interesting conversation to be had. The names, the artwork, some of those different things. I totally agree. And then a lot of people had made the jokes, okay, well, I'm going to come out with the such and such destroyer. In theory, someone could. And then I kind of went a different angle with it. And it's similar but different, because I know we're not comparing apples to apples, but I believe Heiserbomb has a veteran disc, whereas Dynamic Disc has a veteran basket.
Yeah.
So there again, and of course I understand a disc is different from a basket, but that was another one that had come to mind in terms of some of the naming similarities that we find within our sport. So just go with the defaults so that I can just rip on you when you go with Ace, Heiser, chain, skull, something, bird, wings. You just add all those words in there, and then you have them all covered.
And people are saying that, like, on the Buzz, there's a little TM next to it.
Correct.
And I get that, but
is that officially registered?
But is that officially registered trademark? Because like I said, I went out, and granted, I was in the car doing it from my phone. I went to
where all good research is done.
Where every
most
good research
paralegals do it from there.
That's what I heard. And I went to the U.S. trademark. I think it's a patent website, and they do patents and trademarks. And I looked, and I couldn't find anything. So I don't know what the rules and the laws are. So maybe someone will reach out to us either here or maybe by next week, because I'd love to know what the standing is, and whether it's just kind of an agreement between manufacturers that, hey, I won't name my thing yours, you don't name mine.
Well, clearly that's not the case.
Unless someone wants to be a jerk about it.
Well, I mean and Will Schustrick, I think it was Will, who had a very reasonable explanation by saying we have been very clear about D1s, D2s, naming. The naming structure of Prodigy has been very consistent and very clear from day one. And by the time they got to the X series, they had an X1 and another X something, and then eventually the X2. And he said the X2 by Discraft, as far as we know, hasn't been used for years, and it fits into our lineup. It's certainly not like we were going after that specific name to try and attract it and hunt it down. So I think I've paraphrased Will in that sense. I mean, he had a very logical, clear, thought-out explanation for how they arrived at it and how they feel that it's in line with what they're trying to accomplish. So Disc Golf Nerd, who reviews and does a ton of things out there, says, I think the fact that it's just an X and a 2 changes it a bit, in my opinion. Not exactly like Prodigy is taking the name of a disc; they are just filling in their X line.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but it lists as, if you go to their website right now, one could argue if you go to their website right now, prodigydisc.com, the first thing that comes up is a big disc that says X2. So, anyway, it was an interesting conversation for sure. Who knows where it's going to go? If
I don't think Prodigy's changing it, and I don't know if. And again, I said it before. What's to stop Discraft now from re-releasing their X2? Let's say because we've seen it in the past where manufacturers will pull an off the market disc and have a special release of it, whether it's
the Pegasus. That's a great example. The Pegasus was out of production, out of mold forever, and then one day on Innova's specialty site, special store site, there's a Champion Pegasus, for example, or the Viper or whatever. So yeah, it could, in theory. At one point, Discraft could say, "Oh, the X2 is officially 20 years old. We're going to run some special edition X2 discs right now." Then your point is that much more valid.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they would do that. I don't know if they have, but we saw them re-release a Cyclone. You know, the Cyclone, it was one of their major drivers back in the day. So I'll be curious to see if this goes anywhere or if it just kind of vanishes. And I don't blame Prodigy by any means. It's not the move I probably would have made myself. I probably would have skipped the X2 and gone like the X3 maybe,
sure.
But I don't know I don't know what's going on, just for the mere fact that it could cause confusion and to avoid that sort of hassle. I'll say.
Well, Jeremiah on the board says X-Men creators are about to sue because they made the movie X2,
and then there's obviously, as we know, there's a huge difference there in the fact that you're trademarking an object versus a name of something, and that's where it gets hairy.
Yeah. So Nick on the board says it's still a Discraft X2 and a Prodigy X2. They have brand names for a reason. One could argue, though, you're not going to have if you have an Apple MacBook and then you have a Microsoft MacBook, right? Is that a fair analogy?
If what?
There's an Apple MacBook,
Mm-hmm.
and then Microsoft next week came out with a Microsoft MacBook. Like, is that kind of an analogy to what this is?
Kind of.
I mean, sure, they're technically different names if they're by different manufacturers in that sense, but not if you give it the exact same name.
That and I'll say this, obviously, I don't know what our manufacturers do, small potato stuff, compared to probably these giant manufacturers that do trademark these names officially and whatnot. So there would never be a Microsoft MacBook for the mere fact, obviously, that nobody wants to cause that type of mess. But when you think of something like a Lenovo Yoga, and if another brand, or we had these old Asus Transports, they were called laptops. If Microsoft came out with a Microsoft Transport, Asus hasn't made a Transport, as far as I know, in 10 or 15 years. Has that trademark expired? If it's not in use, and this and that. So, or do they keep renewing them?
I clearly understand that my example wouldn't work because those are trademarked, but I'm just saying if those words weren't trademarked, could they have the exact same thing? Who knows? Are they going to run out of disc names eventually? No. And that's because there's umpteen million or billion words out there. I feel like there's plenty of other words that could be used. They may or not fit within your scheme, but I feel like there's plenty of words to choose from. Innova has very much had a animal or mythical creature kind of concept throughout most of their molds, throughout most of their years. Discraft for the longest time has been very solar system and planetary and things of that nature.
Yeah, they've gone away
for
from,
the most part.
Yep.
DGA I think of has always has natural disasters like the hurricane,
typhoon.
Yeah, that was a Discraft.
That was a Discraft disc.
But the breaker and all these other water and or earth related names. So there's plenty of different words out there.
Yeah, I'm not worried about us running out of names for discs.
No. All right. So that's something that's interesting that's could be talked about. We did see it a week or two ago, and we'll be interested to see how it plays out from here.
Some more recent information or news, or not necessarily news, controversy. The FPO division at the Utah Open, and this is one of the reasons we wanted to have Jessica on, obviously, to talk about it. There was a little back and forth on I think it was the first round, hole 4, about whether or not someone had gone in or out of bounds. It was Kat and Jessica had gone out of bounds, and I think you got it on the Disc Golf Guy Network about where it was. Kat was pretty adamant that she had crossed over land. Jessica wasn't nearly as sure, and Paige was flat out adamant, denying that she had crossed over. And it came down to a group decision that she didn't cross over. And by group decision, there were only 3 people in the group. Jessica and Paige said no. Kat ended up having to take it from on the other side of the water.
Sure, the short side.
The short side. So what did you exactly see when you were there? Not necessarily whether it went over or not, but how the situation was handled.
It was certainly interesting in that here you have a card of 3 people. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4. Rarely, but not too often in the pro divisions do you see 5. But you had a card of 3 people, and the shot was thrown. It was obviously a very challenging angle from the tee area to define really almost anything. Mm-hmm. And as you said, 2 of the competitors on the card really felt like Katrina's disc had not crossed over the water. And at that point in that judgment call, it really becomes a group decision. And not all times is a group decision going to be unanimous. It doesn't say in the rules that it has to be unanimous group decision. It has to be a group decision, and in this case, it was essentially 2 versus 1. Mm-hmm. And Kat was very vocal about saying, "No, I watched it. It went over here in a certain area." She said, "I'm 100% certain that it crossed land over here, and I disagree with your ruling." And ultimately, she played from where she thought she went OB, and then she had called a provisional, and she threw it from where they had indicated that she was last in bounds, which is also where Jessica ultimately threw from. Mm-hmm. She threw from there. She didn't get up and down, and she ultimately took a penalty 5, and then she threw it from the spot where she thought she had last crossed, and called a provisional from there as well, as she should. Played it out from there, and from that position she took a circle 4 or a penalty 4, depending on where you're from. And so the disagreement, all took place right there in person. And then I'm not sure actually as to if then Kat addressed the tournament director afterward. That was kind of the plan. Anytime you have a provisional, it's really ultimately what you should be doing is you play it out both ways, and then you bring it to the tournament director, and then they kind of make, we'll say, an ultimate ruling, or they defer, or whatever they do from that point. So it certainly stirred up some frustrations among all 3 of the women. There was no doubt about that. Jessica had her opinion, Paige had her opinion, Kat had her opinion, and I'll say unfortunately, this was only 4 holes into the whole tournament. They were about to play 54 holes. This was only the 4th hole of the entire tournament. So it created some tension, and I feel like a little bit of animosity and bad blood among them. And as Kat told me later in an interview at the end of that round, if you watch the video, she felt like she was bullied. That was her exact word. She felt that she was bullied in that situation, and that it was kind of a 2 against 1 situation. So
I'll say that is one of the hard parts about being a threesome, is that it's, and not that this happened by any means, but it is much easier for 2 people to agree, oh yeah, for sure, you're out, and maybe quote unquote gang up on somebody, as opposed to having 3 unique voices. So, and I'm not saying that happened because I don't believe it did from what I saw on the video that you had put out there.
Well, and I'll follow that up and say, does this make it easier or not if it were for women on that card and it was split 2-2? Mm-hmm. If there's 2 women that said no, she didn't make it, 2 women that say she did, and then you could fall back on the benefit of the doubt goes to the player. That certainly can get thrown in there and should be put in there. I think one of the challenges that a lot of people have is it states in the rules that benefit of the doubt goes to the player. However, there's also an inherent nature where some people feel like that benefit can get stretched too far. And I had a great analogy this weekend that I can't recall, but sometimes it feels like some players they feel like it gets stretched too far, and where it's no longer a benefit, where you are, I don't know what the word is. Some would say you're almost reaching for something, like, oh, but it could have done this. Well, okay, so an example could be, well, I threw a great shot over a blind hill, or over a hill. It was a blind shot. There was no spotters. The disc was 30 feet left of where I thought I threw it.
Mm-hmm.
A bird could have picked it up and moved it 30 feet before we walked to it. Benefit of the doubt. We don't know that a bird didn't do it. And I'm just saying that as an extreme example. Some people would say, yeah, that's crazy. We're not giving you that benefit of the doubt. Now, when it's a closer call, then one says, okay, well, do you or do you not get that benefit? That's what it comes down to. So, understandably, the tournament, from the tournament side, again, as we gave them their accolades, the next round from then on out, they made sure there was a spotter on every questionable situation, that a spotter was ahead of the card and always watching. So if anyone did potentially go out of bounds and a spot needed to be given, there was someone that was closer to the actual landing zone that could say yes or no, you crossed here or you didn't cross there. So
yeah, and I know I think it was addressed, but I think the one thing that will be improved at the Utah Open that a lot of people had questions about was the OB, the fact that there was a few close calls to where some discs landed, because when they slide into a bunker, there is is that under grass? Are the roots of the grass underneath of that?
Is there a blade of grass? Is there a patch of grass? Where is the grass?
And my understanding is
I totally
that
agree.
Next year they're gonna rope off most of the places where you could do that, and then probably come up with a really good alternative if you happen to go in a bunker that is not really in play, so to speak. If you really shank one,
and that's, to be fair, every time we go to a golf course, that is something that needs to be considered. So it's not like we're singling out this event by any means. I was at the St. Jude charity event a few years ago. UC had designed this course. Bunkers were very much in play. It was this great tournament, raising all this money for St. Jude, and yet we went out there and we found some bunkers, and when players landed them, there was some question as to, okay, are you truly and fully out of bounds? And then what happens from there. So, including the last hole of the tournament. Will Schustrick, if I recall, had thrown into a bunker, and there was a question as to whether or not he was safe, and that ultimately helped decide, and he was eventually deemed safe, I believe, and that ultimately, secured his victory. And I'm not saying it was wrong, the call whatsoever. I'm just saying that was a very high-profile situation at that event, where the bunker was, one of kind of the final determining factors. Because if he was called out of bounds, that could have been a very different outcome with where Steve Rico and others were. So those are things to think about. And yes, to clarify, it wasn't OB, it was considered a hazard. And in this specific case, you were assessed a penalty stroke, and rather than bringing it to where it was last in bounds and then playing it from there, you threw from within the sand trap, and then you were assessed a one-stroke penalty. So you got penalized like a regular out-of-bounds stroke. However, you played it from where it was. Now, one of the questions that came up, and I'll admit, I got a text from Paige Pierce on hole 16 on the final round, and I don't have it in front of me, but she was watching from home, and she said, I'm not sure that Ricky should have marked his putt, or his lie, I should say, on hole 16. He shouldn't have marked it within the hazard and thrown from there. And I kind of brought that up later with Steve Dodge, and there's a little ambiguity there.
The rule is you can't putt from an out-of-bounds area, correct?
You cannot have a supporting point OB when you release the disc.
Correct. Now, but as we said, technically that's not out of bounds. It's a hazard. You don't take relief from it. So if you don't take relief from it, then why can't you have your foot in there? If it landed there in your OB, you shoot from where you were. So if you mark it and your foot's in there, I say you're golden. Now, this is a gray area in the rules that maybe needs to be addressed the more we start playing with these stupid bunker rules. I'm going to go and say it. I think they're dumb.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think if it's in an area that you get penalized for, you shouldn't throw from an area you're penalized from. Why are you penalizing somebody? It makes no sense to me. Like, there were so many times on this weekend when I saw these players lay up in front of a sand trap to have to throw like a 30 or 40 foot putt. And I say, screw it. Just launch it at it right into the sand, get yourself within 10 feet, and you've got a gimme. You're losing a stroke, but you know what you could do if you were 40 feet back? Hit that basket and roll back in the sand. And granted, these players are really good. They're not missing like we do. But if they're penalizing you, you shouldn't be playing from an area where they're penalizing you. It makes no sense to me. Like, it's
but a part of the reason for playing to the playing the sand traps as they did was to negate, not negate, to somewhat eliminate the ambiguity of where did it go in.
I totally understand and agree with that. And it's very tough to decide if you're throwing, let's say, a big hyzer that lands in the sand trap. Did you go in 15 feet this way or 10 feet this way? Like, the angle you're at makes it very difficult. And I understand that it makes it easier to do that. The problem is it makes it janky. Like, oh great, I'm 12 feet from the basket, but I'm being penalized. But I get to play from right here. I don't know if I don't know of another sport, and I could be wrong because I'm thinking off the top of my head, where they penalize you, but you don't move. You don't. And granted, it's really, I mean, I can only think golf in general, but when you land in the sand trap in golf, you don't get penalized. That is the penalty. Like, having to get out of the sand trap is more difficult, and it's way easier for us because we're standing.
Exactly. Yeah.
It sounds so goofy to me to say, and I realize it avoids ambiguity, but it just is odd, and I don't like it. And I don't like it anywhere we play it. I don't like it at USDGC. I don't like it here. It's a personal thing, and other people can disagree with me, and I understand the benefit to it. I just don't like it.
Okay. I don't have a problem with it. I of course, like everyone else, hope that, and I understand the massive undertaking that it is, I hope that we can try to eliminate a little bit of the ambiguity as to marking and painting or flagging, roping, all of those massive efforts that come with being out at that course. And one not so brilliant thought I had at one point as we were out there on, I think, Sunday, or as I was, reflecting on the weekend, I thought, well, this is a disc golf course that's used quite frequently. There's a ton of traffic that comes out and plays it, as they should, because it's a fun course to play. Maybe they should just mark it with string permanently. So it's not just an event thing. It's always out there. And then I realized, the golfers may not like that.
No, but it's going to get caught up in their swing.
At some point it probably will.
Yeah,
and it might be rare. Because if you attach it inside the sand trap at the right way, and you do it once and you do it really well, I think it could be there for many, many years. But when one golfer in the next year hits it, there's going to be could be some massive.
Even though it might be kind of crazy to do this, and it might look even sillier. I would almost say there should be. There would almost have to be a drop zone on every hole. If you land in the sand, you play from this spot near the green. Like, there's a 40-foot spot, and we pick a different spot for every hole where you have a chance to land in the sand near the basket. I would rather do that than than play from in the sand, or just let me play from in the sand. And I understand it makes it more difficult. It makes it.
Oh, it makes the course 100 times easier.
Way easier. I get that, and
in fact, the sand almost in a lot of those holes could become a huge advantage.
Correct, because you don't
throw into a sand trap and you're not worrying about a skip.
That's why I don't. I like that the sand is OB as a penalty. I don't like it that you play from it. That's
Okay.
That's it. So, all right. What else? Do you have anything for us as far as news or?
Well, I guess I'll elaborate a little further. And this is for nothing more than just sheer intake. About now 4 hours ago, a few hours before the show, I went out and I decided to take a quick look at, we talk a lot about coverage, and I think there was yet another new element brought to the coverage this weekend. Steve Dodge did something he's been wanting to do for a few events now, where he took the round coverage that I got from the women's rounds that started around 9 a.m., 9:15. He took all of the footage that I captured, and then he broke it up into his hole-by-hole sections, and then ultimately edited them together and then provided them to you so we could play them during the men's round. So that's been done since the beginning of this year's Pro Tour. So again, knock on wood, surprisingly, it's worked pretty well. But Steve wanted to take it up in yet another notch and do something he hasn't done before, which is add commentary to it. And by a lot of accounts earlier in the evening, when it was kind of referenced, it seems like a lot of people really enjoy the commentary. And I think it's fair to say one of the challenges with cutting to the women's footage is you got to see the sights and the sounds of the game, but some people were sometimes even confused by, like, what am I seeing? And, well, where's the commentary and what am I seeing and why is it so quiet all of a sudden? They're used to me yammering on and on.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it's relatively quiet as you're watching the women's footage. So Steve, again, because of kind of a smaller field size, we had a little bit more time to play with. So Steve actually edited the footage together and then overlaid his own personal commentary on top of it. And Steve is a storyteller. Steve concerns himself with numbers a lot and statistics, and that's obviously one of his things, and I'm not as much. And he wanted to be able to provide some of that stuff. So I want to know, Johnny wants to know, Steve wants to know, if you really truly did enjoy his commentary or if you have thoughts or feedback on it, please certainly submit it to us. We'd love to hear it, okay? So there's that.
There was positive feedback for the commentary. People were, from what I saw, people liked it. The downside was just how it sounded. He needs to get, I don't know what he used, if he just used his onboard mic on his laptop, but it sounded very hollow. It almost sounded like he was like in a bathroom or
okay.
It just based on compared to the sounds that we get from you and him on the course. When he came in, you could tell that the sound was different. So I'd love to see him get just a slightly nicer mic, like a USB mic.
No, he had a really good mic. There's two thoughts that I have to that. Either one, because he first ran up to me, he's like, "How does the mic work?" And I'm like, "Just like it did last time I showed you." But then all of a sudden he said he Googled it and he got it to work. So either he didn't get it to work and he thought he did and he was really using his actual laptop mic, or two, what I'm thinking happened is it was one of those I think Snowball microphones.
Yeah.
A relatively good mic, actually a highly recommended mic for that.
Just depends
process.
And it just depends where you are.
But then he went into it wasn't quite a pro shop room, but it was very much his own secluded room. Of course, he was going for low background noise and quiet, but it may not have
the acoustics that you need. It makes it sound more echoey and a little more hollow. And that's my only complaint. I liked the commentary, though. People thought it was an added bonus.
Okay, well, that's good to know, and certainly great feedback if maybe the setting in which he did it in wasn't ideal, but to some degree, it's 100 degrees out. He was trying to find a place that was cool enough that he could edit, but then also provide commentary and be able to upload. And in order to have all of those things, I think that was the room that he found. So I did want to talk about that and address it, and I'm definitely looking forward to feedback on that. Now, the other thing is that I then did something that I've really never done before, which was I took then the full footage, and then as Johnny alluded to earlier, I then put out a full round of coverage. And, Steve had put out hole by hole, intermixed into obviously our broadcast, but I wanted the full sights and sounds of the game, some of the commentary that was talked about on hole 4 and some of the other holes where there was maybe a question or a debate, and then along with scores after every hole and kind of all that stuff, kind of the I'll say full treatment, full rundown of entire hole by hole, shot by shot coverage. Because if you had to guess, how many shots, if there were 15 total shots by the 3 women on a given hard hole, how many does Steve show? Well, no, there's 4 for the most part, so we'll call it 4 women. And let's say there were 20 shots amongst 4 women. How many of those is he showing in the cut that he gives you?
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes he'll leave out a woman if maybe they like there were times we did not see all of Amy's throws. Probably because A, she tailed off at the end. She was not as close as she was after the first round. So we would not see hers particularly. And towards the end, it basically just became a Jessica Cat showing. And that's how he does it. And so he's always done
Correct,
it.
because he's trying to kind of funnel in the story.
Yeah, we have it's pretty. If you guys watch, it's pretty timed up, almost to this minute, almost to the second. When the men tee, they take about 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have approximately 1 minute before the men approach their disc, depending on what happens. If someone gets hung up early, it's going to be about 30 seconds, but it's almost always 1 minute to 1 minute and 10 seconds. And so Steve has to fit in. We have to fit in all that basically to about 1 minute and 10 seconds, unless it's a par 4 where there's 2 throws, then we'll break it up into 2. But it's always about 1 minute for them to get to their disc. So he shows most of the shots.
Okay. Well, so I wanted to fill all of those shots in, but then also have, like I said, some of the banter, some of the conversation, the full scoring, and it moves at a slower pace, of course, because of all that. I want it to be a little bit more polished with some of the whole information that maybe he doesn't have, and so on and so forth. So every night when we were done with the live broadcast, I then went back to the hotel and then spent the next few hours, anywhere from 2 to 8 hours, putting together all of the women's footage, and then I got the women's footage up that night. Usually the front 9 would be up by 2 or 3 a.m., and then I'd go to bed as the back 9 was uploading at 3 or 4 a.m., so that I knew it would for sure be up by 9 or 10 a.m. So essentially the entire round was going to be up by 6 or 7 a.m. And that was the first time I've ever done that. It was when it was 3 women and there were X amount of shots, it was great. And when it moved to 4, obviously that added 25% more. And Paige withdrawing took away. Paige was one of the lower shooting women, so it added a few more shots. And overall, it was a workload, but it was really fulfilling to be able to get those all done. Now, good, bad, or indifferent. What I found interesting after doing some stat looking a few hours ago, I took out and took a quick look at some of the numbers of the women's versus the men's coverage. And everyone's going to say, well, obviously the men got more. We all know that. I'm not giving you any exclusives on that. But what I found interesting is roughly, and I'm no Jomez, let's be real. My single camera with my graphics that are half as good, a third as good, a quarter as good. I'm no Jomez. I fully disclose and understand that. But just looking at women's coverage, we see that the first round has a total of about, give or take, about 12,000 views. Second round currently has about 5,500 views, and third round has almost exactly 10,000 views. So that adds up for the 3 rounds of full coverage that was posted before any other coverage by Central Coast or Jomez, only because I got to get at it a little earlier, for a grand total, as of a few hours ago, of about 27,000 views. Comparing that to Jomez on the men's side, I added up all his views as of, again, a few hours ago. And when it was all said and done, it came to about 132,000 views, 133,000 views, which comes out to almost exactly 21, that the women's viewing was about 21% of what the men's viewing was.
So we get about 1/5 of the viewers.
So about 1/5 of the viewers. So nothing more than just, I guess, throwing it out there. I don't know if Jomez covered the women for the 3 rounds, if the numbers would have been wildly different, because they are so much better of a quality product when it comes to the editing. But I thought it was an interesting statistic to see. Here we are about 3 days after the event, and when you compare men's views to women's views, for nothing more than looking at them, you're looking at approximately 27,000 views to 133,000 views. So I thought that was interesting. Thought I'd share that with everyone. A lot of people ask, more women's coverage, and there was a lot of people that seem to really enjoy it and, of course, want to see more. Paige Pierce made a comment yesterday on her Facebook talking about her situation and also saying that she consumed it and that she wants people to watch it, and we want to see more women's coverage. And when it was all said and done, that's the numbers I came up with. So I'm going to touch on real quickly Paige Pierce. I know we kind of breezed over it a little earlier. For those who somehow may not know, Paige, again, was in the hunt. She was tied for first after the first round. She shot a 63 with the other her co-leaders being Kat and Jessica. And then she had received some news that her mother had some medical challenges, and the very next morning, I believe around 3 or 4 or 5 a.m., she was on a plane and went back to Texas. She made a post last night saying that things are looking better for her mother. She spent the entire weekend with her. She had given me a few updates. She gave Madison Walker and a few others some updates. And as of right now, looks like things are hopefully continuing to go in a positive direction for everything for her. So,
but the question is she can play Beaver State?
That is a question. And I was meaning to reach out to her earlier today, and I forgot to do that.
Messenger.
I will do that right now, and I think I'm gonna have to skip that route and I'm gonna go this route. I will, because obviously that's a question that's on a lot of people's minds, not just for fantasy, but to know of her well-being and knowing that she actually went into a playoff with Katrina last year and ultimately fell to Katrina in the first hole of the playoff, which was featured on the Disc Golf Guys vlog. So I'm gonna reach out to her and see if she might be around or available, just because I think we'd all like to know. So that's what I had for coverage. I thought it was a lot of fun seeing essentially every single shot that Kat threw on the weekend. I saw most of Jess's shots. No, I saw every shot that Jess threw on the weekend, literally every single shot that she threw, and just watching the battles unfold. Obviously there's a story there about Jessica and how she kind of had the yips for a moment on hole number 9, and it looked like she was just giving away the tournament, and then she kind of fought back and hit the pole just a couple holes later on just one of the most gorgeous drives I've ever seen, and then taking it all the way down to the final hole along with Katrina, and them both making a mistake and then going into the playoff, and it was dramatic and it was heated, and I think it's everything you could want in great disc golf, women's or men's.
Yeah, I agree. There was it was a battle. I'll just put it that. It was a battle. There was drama. There was some, iffy calls. There was some good play. There was some really bad play. Everything you want to see in a battle was there. Some major roller coaster swings and scores.
All right. Sorry, I'm gonna write.
No, that's fine. Someone, Disc Golf Nerd, wanted to ask about the smash cut and
yes.
how come I was able to do it this time. The last event, which I believe was Jonesboro, Steve and I had talked, and Steve had said that some of the sponsors had reached out and said, yeah, we're not a big fan of the smash cut because we think it's taking away views from the live where we pay for the commercials. Understandably, Steve and I...
Which we think we've proven it doesn't necessarily take away views.
Correct. No,
but,
go
on.
Exactly, I agree. And so Steve had then said, well, let's put a bunch of commercials in. I said, no, that's not the point. I'd rather not do it than put 9 or 18 commercials in there. So we came to an agreement that they wouldn't be done. Well, I came up with an idea and said, hey, Steve, what if we throw these little lower thirds or little graphics in on every hole that says sponsored by, or, Discraft, hole 1, Infinite Discs, hole 2. And so if you watch the smash cut, you'll see as they start each hole, there's a little bitty, on the lower left-hand corner is a little bitty thing that tells you each hole is sponsored by somebody. So that was the agreement that we came to that said I can now put out these smash cuts because each hole is sponsored by a particular player. I'll say this, I don't love the lower third style. I like the idea of doing it. I want to come up with a nicer, better looking one than what I had. It was really just a little bit of graphics. I want to come up with one with a logo for them, but I did it was such a quick decision that was made that I didn't get a chance to really do any research and kind of figure out a really cool and fun way to highlight that particular sponsor. And if you look real closely in the whole bug, there's actually a sponsor as well in there too. And
There is.
I think there is. So that's how we came to the agreement of being able to do the Smash Cuts for Disc Golf Nerd and everyone else that was asking. It was out there, I think, by almost like 6:30 to 7:30 every night. About 7 o'clock to 7:30 every night, except for the final night on Saturday when I took like a 20-minute phone call in between and didn't get up until about 8 o'clock. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems like some people are really enjoying it. I saw a question that I think came in on Facebook that said, why did you bother for Saturday night? If the point of the Smash Cut, one of the objectives of the Smash Cut is to help get people up to speed, why would you bother putting one out Saturday night? And without even talking to you, I kind of feel like, well, if it makes you that mad, then why did you watch it, or why didn't you watch it? You know what I mean?
No, it's a valid question. You know, one of the reasons that we do put them out is so people can get caught up and see what happened. Because as awesome as Jomez and CCDG are, they seem to only be able to get out 9 really good holes before the round. The other 9 usually come out later that day. And whether they could put out the full 18 and they just choose to break it up is one thing, or if it's really just a matter of they want to make sure that they can upload and then re-upload and they're scheduling. I don't know what their process is. I've never been in the room with them when they did it. So that's one reason why we put them out. Another reason is that people just prefer it. Some people just want it immediately. Just absolute ASAP, as soon as humanly possible. And I've always kind of thought, you know what? If that's what people want, they don't get a ton of views. They get about 5,000 to 6,000 views. You know, when Jomez is putting up 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with that because I'm not competing with them. If, as we told, when we first had this conversation, we said, if what I'm doing is taking away their views, I'm taking away from people who don't care about the bonuses that they provide. They don't care about the Julie, is that what he called himself? German Yuli, the Jamuli. I forget the stupid name they came up with them for themselves. The insight that they give and the cool slow mez and the shot tracker. They don't care about that stuff. They literally just want to consume content. I kind of feel that way about how I consume podcasts. When I listen to it at 1.7 speed, it's not because I want to, and I listen to some comedy podcasts like that as well, and it's not because I don't care about the timing of the joke and and the thought that goes into it. I get all that, but it's just at a faster rate. And that's kind of how I feel about the Smash Cut.
Okay. Well, Tired of Crap made another super chat donation. So I got to read the comment. It says, I prefer Smashbox with commercials over no Smash Cut at all. Seriously, I only have attention span for Smash Cut.
Well, that's nice. That and again, I get it out fast. That's the whole point. And sloppy, and I barely pay attention to the voices.
And if people think it sucks,
if nobody will watch it,
then nobody should watch it.
If it starts dipping down below like 2,000 views, then I know nobody cares about this. But the fact that it's getting still 5,000 to 6,000 views is pretty much all I need to say. Look, there is a reason and a use for this. And one of the arguments that someone had come up to me with, are like, well, aren't you stealing views from Jomez? And no offense to Jomez, but I don't care. Because we're not making our money on YouTube views. They're now making their money as we are on other services, whether it's GoFundMe's or Patreons. You know, when Jomez is putting out six videos this weekend, and they're making, I think it's like $250 a video on Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's $1,500. Do you know what they're making for all 20,000 of their views on YouTube? Probably about $30, maybe $20, $30, maybe 40, and then if they're lucky, depending on if you watch the advertisements, if you click on them, if you don't, if you're a YouTube Red person, none of us are going to make money on YouTube. That's just how it works. That's why we've looked at other aspects and avenues. So that's why I don't feel bad. If there wasn't something like Patreon, I might feel I would feel a little differently saying, I want to make sure that everybody, especially when they're putting out a superior quality product, I would not want to take anything away from them. But they're in the 5,000 views they might miss, which they're not, because people are probably going to watch it twice. They're going to watch it again for the insight. I'm not concerned. It concerns me zero.
Well, Ronald Harkey says that you're a big jerk because you cut off my sentences during the smash cuts.
Yeah, well, I listen to it and I try to make sure to make him sound as stupid as possible, which isn't too tough.
No, it's so easy. It's just bumps that spike for you. So
That's
easy.
right. It makes me feel good inside.
So easy for you to do. Excuse me. So I'll be excited to see some of the other footage that comes out. I admit I didn't go out and look at Central Coast as to what they do or don't have out. I could throw their numbers right into the mix of what I had found as well. Somebody had said something about putting Jomez will get that many more views. Of course, I'm assuming they will. They put out a higher quality product than what I have put out. I'm a single, this weekend, I was literally one person out there in the morning filming the entire round with a 90-minute turnaround to go then back out to do the live. And then at night, I basically volunteered myself to then put out the women's rounds in their entirety. I am no way in competition with the 3 superior cameras and their 2.5 editors. I've never claimed to be on their level. Someone else had made a counterpoint to that, saying they were looking for Jomez lead card footage, and they found exactly 0 videos of women's lead card footage. They have not been known to go out and film women's lead card footage, at least on their channel. Is what somebody else had just pointed out. So it's a difference. I feel like the women's coverage has to be out there. I'm going to do my best to continue to try and put it out there when I can. Not every weekend do I have the time or the accessibility, or can I work the 20 hours I did to make it happen. But where I have the opportunities, I will. So I think just more coverage in general from any and all the channels is going to continue to be a thing. So I'm excited to see it.
UDisc killed it again this weekend.
Of course.
We asked them for 1 or 2 little added things, and they were right on it. And one of the things that I always say at my job, IT, is that if people don't notice me, I'm doing a great job. And that's how I feel about UDisc right now. If people aren't noticing any glitches or hiccups, it's because they're doing a great job behind the scenes. So don't let that don't let that slide. Realize that they are putting in tons of effort just like us. So reach out to them, give them a good thank you if you can.
Yeah, certainly. And I think we learned this weekend even more than at Jonesboro. UDisc is so incredibly helpful from a broadcasting perspective, not only from what you're doing in the graphics and the details that you and Gary are able to put up, but then it's Steve who's on his phone the entire round looking at this person birdied this hole 1 of the previous 2 rounds, and this person, and this is the 5th most difficult hole, and so on and so forth. All of those stats are coming to us live, real time, instantaneously, all thanks to UDisc. Those are Steve's driven by those facts and stats and details more so than I am. We both have a lot of things going on our head in any given moment, and Steve focuses on that stuff, and whether he spits it out or he feeds it to me and I take a look at it and I spit it out, that's, again, we can sound a little bit smarter every time thanks to UDisc, so we certainly appreciate it.
I would feel really bad if I didn't get a chance to show this because I made it.
Uh-oh.
And
great. I think I already feel bad that we're going to see it if you made it.
I did. Everybody's really impressed with Ricky's ace on 18 to finish.
Good call. So let's see Jomez's good version.
No, I don't want to show that at all. I want to show this.
Oh.
This is Ricky, 2 death putts, round 1 and round 2. Like, it's kind of a ridiculous.
Oh, he didn't get a chance to putt out, you're saying, on the final round?
Yeah, that too.
From the tee?
Almost identical spots, looking right at the water. It's kind of silly what he does. Hold on, I gotta close that out. It's kind of silly what he does day in and day out with his putting from any distance. It doesn't matter what's behind him, is what I realize. I don't think he even sees it.
Yeah. It's awesome that you lined those up the way you did.
And it bothers me that I didn't get to use it because he aced.
'Cause he aced.
Because I told you that
Yep.
I had made that right before the round, thinking that he's probably going to end up around in the same spot. Or even if he doesn't, there's going to be time when he walks around, and I'm going to get a chance to show it. And then that jerk goes and aces,
I
so I
know.
don't get a chance to use my
Your
little video.
amazing video.
It's not amazing, but I put like a good 10 minutes into that.
Yeah.
10 whole minutes.
I know. It's gorgeous.
So,
You should send that to SportsCenter instead.
oh, good call.
Ricky, 2 death putts in a row.
Yeah, round 1, round 2.
So Ricky played that 4 under par on the weekend. Is that?
Yeah,
I guess that's all right.
and 3 rounds.
That is very impressive by Wysocki. William Buckley says the ace win confidence will carry Ricky far this season. It's awesome. It's something most people shall never forget. For Rick, it's just a tiny additional feather in his cap. He's good. I think he's confident. I mean, I think it's awesome. Do not get me wrong, and I'm not trying to downplay it. But for Rick, next week he could be out there shooting 1099 golf or 1029 golf, and I think no matter what, you were going to see a good, solid performance out of Rick for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Let's stop talking about Rick.
Okay. Reading some of the, momentum.
No, we don't-
There's
yeah.
momentum.
Hey,
is certainly
that's another $1. we
yes,
owe
it
him.
is. Darn it.
Let's move on.
Okay. Do you have something else to move on to?
The after show?
Oh, okay. You want to do that? All right. I think I'm going to see if I had anything else worthwhile in my
Let's
notes.
say it's 11 o'clock. I think it's a good time to wrap it up. We've been on for 2 hours, and I think that we've...
Our arbitrary after show cutoff time. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, Johnny's calling it here, I guess. It's been a really fun night tonight. It was great learning and meeting our United States amateur disc golf champion in Brandon Oleskie. Congrats to him for conquering the toboggan along with a very solid field at the PDGA Major over in Michigan. We'd like to thank him for joining us, as well as Dynamite Vichy, who of course is on the West Coast, where I'll run into him in just a few days and see him at the Beaver State Fling. For all of you guys that tuned in and listened about Utah and our wrap-up of it, thank you to the Utah Open, your staff, your team, Mulligans, and all the people out there. Of course, Steve Dodge, the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Miles, and just that massive crew that was out there, Rob and Jade and everyone else. So thank you to all you guys yet again. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been podcast 147. Stick around for the after show where we get a little bit looser. We give away some free stuff, and we step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the video credits. If you're interested in being listed as a producer on SmashBox TV's podcast, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxTV.
Welcome, everyone, to the Smashbox TV podcast 147 after show. Your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V, and we're ready to get to it. We just wrapped up podcast number 147, the regular show where we talked with the U.S. Amateur Disc Golf Champion in Brandon Oleskie, and also talked with Dynamite. Got a little Utah Open recap and a little bit of a Beaver State Fling preview. Most eyes are, in fact, moving over to the Milo McIver State Park in outside of Portland. I believe technically it's Estacada, Oregon, and super excited. I'm going to be out there this weekend.
You're not going to be excited while it's pouring on you. You're not.
I'm going to bring you the single best ever coverage from a car window. Be like, hey guys, we skipped holes 9 through 12 because, well, those were out in the woods. But I got this from the parking lot, and then from the next parking lot, and then from the side of the road. Hope you guys like that.
I got no problem with that.
All right. Well, yes, I'm excited. There will be a few announcements a little bit later in the week as some details and some Instagrams and other things that I'll post. But I am excited to be out there and taking in some action. I know Central Coast has some great stuff on lockdown. I know Jomez is doing some stuff. I'm not sure where everyone's going to be. I'm going to probably play back off of all of those gentlemen and what they're doing, and I'll fill in some logical place outside of whatever they've been assigned or claimed or whatever the case might be. So I'm definitely excited to be out there for sure. Again, PDGA National Tour, that is the Beaver State Fling presented by Keen. Keen, mind you, is a supporter of both myself, the disc golf guy, along with SmashBoxxTV, and we certainly want to thank Keen for all of their efforts supporting disc golf, supporting us, and then just being generally great ambassadors to outdoor adventure lovers, nature lovers, and a ton of different programs that are all on their website that I know they support and endorse. So super excited about that. Johnny V is going to work a little bit on our shoot. My giveaways are out in the car. I kind of want to get them.
You can go get them. We'll talk smack about you when you're gone.
I will in a moment, but Johnny V is working on some giveaway stuff. He's going to update the list. If you're a Patreon supporter of our podcast, that does make you eligible for some of the giveaways. We've got some stuff to send out tomorrow. Ronald Harkey's disc is getting sent out. And then there's a few people that just simply need to reply to Johnny and or myself with some addresses so that we can send out some previous week's worth of stuff. But tonight we'll go ahead and we'll be giving away some more stuff as usual, including, we'll give away some stuff. That's what I'll say. All right. I'm going to answer a few questions. We're coming basically right off the end of our regular podcast. Here on the after show, we like to interact even more so with some of the comments that come in off the live chat that's taking place on YouTube. So if you want to participate, that's a great place to do it. Again, just more interactive, and we may or may not get a little feisty here because I see Amp. We'll start. I'm going to go down the list. Amp style YouTube after show topic. Is there a dress code in disc golf? There absolutely is.
For certain events?
For certain tiered events and up currently. This last event, some people may be questioning. Josh Anthon, I believe, was wearing like a Nike t-shirt. That is within his rules as being a PDGA B tier tournament. If you're playing in an A tier tournament or a major, there's certain rules, or a national tour, for instance, there's certain rules that apply. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't know if there's necessarily an additional or any other considerations from the Pro Tour side above and beyond any PDGA associations for dress code.
I've never seen anything about a dress code for Disc Golf Pro Tour.
You haven't looked, and nor have I. So, but I don't think there is one, and we can get clarification, but I don't believe that there is. I believe that right now the Pro Tour is probably following the standards set forth by the PDGA's dress code. So with this being a B-tier tournament, Josh was, and I'll say he's one of the higher profile players that a lot of people may be referencing. He was, in fact, wearing what seemed to be a cotton T-shirt, totally within his rules at a PDGA B-tier. So someone says, is it dumb the way that it annoys Anthon's outfit? Is it dumb that his outfits annoy him? I mean, everybody has a different taste or what they feel should be a standard. You getting worked up, I don't know. I guess you could or can't, but he is doing it within the rules. Central Coast did cover chase card. That was one of the lingering questions. They covered chase cards, but according to Rob, who was your announcer for the weekend, he says that it's not out yet. Dad's Drunk is getting aggressive, telling us do not critique this show or shows produced by them. You're certainly welcome to critique us. It's just that we don't have to take abuse from you, depending on how you present it on our chat board. So there's times that you make comments that are outright dickbag-ish, and I said that. So it's just a matter of we don't necessarily have to take it. I mean, you can say it. You could get banned, or we could just simply ignore you. But like everything, there's a difference between just being belligerent or being a jerk for being a jerk versus constructively saying something. So I hope I've addressed that as frankly and direct with you as I can.
People are asking, yes, Paul Macbeth will be at the Beaver State Fling. So Paul and Hannah will both be there.
Okay. Jared, I watched round 2 chase card coverage today, Alan says, so maybe it does sound like it's out. Again, lots of conversation about Anthon's dress. We'll move on from there. Jarrett says, I want round 3 with Dana and Anthony Barella. Understandably, yeah, they were making a run, as many of you know. I'm guessing I got to get to something.
Alan Rizzi says Dick Baggish was a great player back in the 80s. I agree. He had that crazy forehand. It was great.
Seti says, but your Jomez Ricky Ace comment is even weirder. All right. I don't know what that's in reference to. I can move on. Again, trying to catch up through the board. More ankle socks.
No V-neck tonight.
Billy says, I'm so happy to have live coverage and learned to really like Terry's commentary. He does a great job with all the stuff he has going on. Billy, you're so right. No, thank you. I appreciate it. Jeremiah says, what's worse is watching his drive regarding Anthon. And I'm going to say to that, too bad. I understand it's not textbook by most people's standards.
What?
Referring to Josh Anthon's stutter step and his drive and the way he runs up, that's fine.
He gets the job done.
He gets it done. He's the 3rd highest rated player in the world. I think he's going to remain there for the foreseeable future. He could maybe even take over the 1 or 2 spot. I don't think that's happening just yet, but he's the 3rd highest rated player in the world. He's arguably the best putter in the world, if not one of the best putters in the world. And he throws clearly with plenty of power. And I understand it's not textbook pretty. That's fine. I don't disagree with you. There's Nate Sexton's flip of his putter is 100% arbitrary. Like 100%. At no point will you ever open a textbook or a video and somebody's going to be like, all right, here's your putting tip of the day. Make sure you flip your putter 13 times or some arbitrary amount of times, as Nate admits, before you throw it. Like, it's a style that is that they have owned and that they have adopted.
Yeah, people. Alan Ridley says it's effective. It's hard to understand how it can be effective, but we've also seen in the past 5 years a huge push towards form and critique. You know, the straight reach back, the power pocket, all these things, the perfect X step, turn on the heel versus the ball of your toe. Honestly, when it comes down to it, that's great if you want to throw 550 feet. But with poor form, quote unquote poor form that Josh has, he can get it out there 450 when he needs to. That's all that matters, as we know. Because Josh is, as he says, the strength of his game is accuracy and putting. So as long as he can do that, no one's going to argue with him.
Dad's drunk. That's not when you made a comment that irked me, so I'll move on. Amp Style asked, Terry, I asked earlier, how is it a gid to have Anthon on a lead card? I'm a little bit...
D-R-A-M-A. Drama. There's a little bit there.
Really?
To have Josh on a lead card?
I don't think so.
They're...
From a viewer perspective,
from a viewer
maybe.
perspective.
I was going to say from a player perspective.
Oh no, the players don't care. None of those players. They're all friendly with him. Some, Drew Gibson and him are super tight.
They've always been very close friends ever since Drew came into the disc golf.
But
scene.
from a viewer point of view, there is some drama there.
That's fine. I mean,
and I get it. And Spin TV, when he was on the Masters Cup, they said that's why they put him on. They knew there would be some drama, some extra pull to see Josh, who hadn't been seen in years. So is it bad for our sport? I don't think so at this point. We're so young. There's so many other things that we can look at. If Josh is going to do Josh things.
And right now, that means putting himself on lead cards. One could argue all day long with Steve Dodge's or the Utah Open's mentality and how they assembled that card. They took the 2016 reigning champ of the Utah Open, Jeremy Colling. They took the 2015 champ, Paul Ulibarri. They took Ricky Wysocki, the world champ and highest rated player in the world. And they took Josh Anthon, the second highest rated player in the world. I don't know what other. I mean, there's some other ways you could have assembled that card, certainly, but the way that it was assembled in terms of the first featured card seemed logical to me, is what I could say from there. Amp South said, dude can putt. That's an understatement. He certainly can. Until you go back to the 2011 World Beach Putting Competition, and I beat Josh Anthon in a putting contest.
It was
and it's
a
on
speed
video.
putting.
I'm just saying I beat him. And, he recognizes what's up. I'm just saying. Go find that. It's one of my old vlogs. Bobby Brown, welcome from Disc Golf Answer Man, is out on the board. He says, always remembered Anthon's unorthodox run-up, but he can crush and he can putt. He certainly can. Can anyone get an Anthon in the bag? Maybe that's something I'll work on this weekend if somebody else hasn't tackled him already.
Can you get Anthon a new bag? That thing looks like it's held together by about 6 strings and duct tape.
He's just there to get it done, man.
I know.
That's all it is.
He needs a little something, a little something fresher, a little something newer. That bag has seen better days.
Marcus Banks says, I don't understand how Anthon is still third after being gone for a few years. Doesn't make sense. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but your rating doesn't. If you're not playing, your rating essentially can stay the same to some degree. I don't understand all the full statistics, but then when he renewed, his rating picked up. Your rating just doesn't disappear because you're not playing. It picks up where you left off. If you quit playing in 1999 and you at the time had 1,000 rating, and then you didn't touch a disc for 10 years, when you come back and renew, you'll still have that 1,000 rating. That's some of how the math works.
And it just so happens that Josh picked up where he left off.
And Josh's skill sets have clearly, pretty much picked up where he left off, as Johnny just said. So I don't see his rating go too much higher or lower from where it's at.
And as far, I'll say this, selfishly, from a fantasy disc golf perspective, having Josh back is great, because it used to just be you had Paul and Ricky up in the 1050s. 1050, 1049, whatever you want to say. So everyone picks one of those two. Throwing Josh in the mix is great, because now you've got that third guy. He's 1046, 1047. It adds another person into that tier that you can account for. Do you take Josh thinking he's probably going to take third or fourth, save yourself 5 or 7 ratings points, and then pick somebody when you, instead of having to pick, we'll say, Austin Turner, you can now pick Dustin Keegan or something along those lines. It throws a little bit more mix in there. So from my perspective, I like seeing it.
Well, and it's kind of funny as we're looking at it right now, pdga.com/players /stats, blah, blah, blah. Paul Macbeth, 1052, Wysocki, 1049, Anthon, 1048, and then there's 6. They're just 6 little points, but 6 points to Simon Lizotte at 1042. And then Kyle Crabtree, 1039. So, and Kyle Crabtree's a guy that you don't. He's got one event played this year, so he's a guy that you don't really see as often, who doesn't have as much of a track record on him in terms of. I was going to say his amount of rounds. Even though he does play, he just doesn't get out. He's only played technically 1 or 2 events this year. Yeah, 1 event thus far. But still has that high rating. So that's kind of similar to what you've seen with Josh. And I've got a whole thing about Europe that I totally missed during the regular show that I want to get to in a moment. But
I was thinking some people are calling Josh's form bad, but
that's fine.
No. And I'm not arguing. It gets the job done. We've already discussed that. But I was thinking, we see Simon and Paul and Eagle torque their bodies to get those distance, and it's not easy on them. I'm wondering if, Josh is older than all of them. I'm wondering if that form, while it might not be as effective, if it's going to be easier on his body in the long run, because he doesn't have the torque and the pull and the what those guys are doing. I wonder if that's why he's been able to maintain at his advanced age. What is he, 34?
Yeah, 35, 36-ish.
35, 36.
He's somewhere in that neighborhood.
So, I don't know. I'm not a. Maybe that's a question for Hannah.
It definitely is.
As opposed to me, but it clearly has shown the test of time. He hasn't. I know he's got a twisted knee or something, but I don't know if that was from his throwing, as opposed to seeing some of these other guys. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, and for those who don't maybe necessarily know or didn't catch it, Josh Yanthon actually had a knee surgery on December. I was going to say December 15th, but it was sometime in December last year. And he had stated before going and playing even in the St. Patrick's Classic that he's like a week before that, he goes, I had no intention. I went out to, I think during that week, he went out to the course. He played I think he said one hole. His knee hurt, and he said, that's it. I'm done. I'm not playing right now. And then the day of the event or the day before the event, he went out and played some more, and it didn't hurt as bad. And he ended up playing in the event and then winning the event. But a few days before it, he couldn't even complete 2 holes of disc golf. So his knee is certainly a concern of his. And I had asked him about it this weekend, and he says he feels about 80%. So not that I feel like he's going to be throwing 100 feet further or making 105% of his putts from inside the circle, but
No.
His knee is actually something to think about. So that's out there. And interesting to see as a guy who is relatively young.
Were you going to run and get the prizes or no?
Yeah, I'll go get those in a moment. Sorry, I was just going to try and get caught up with everything on here. Is there anything else that I need to?
No.
Yeah, lots of conversation about form. Dan Harbeck, I saw you get all worked up about curious why the Utah Open has not posted the payout on the PDGA page. I saw you get worked up on Facebook about that. The results were obviously instantaneous on the Disc Golf Pro Tour page.
UDisc has now integrated directly in with the PDGA.
Correct. And UDisc had them all on there, obviously, from the second they were happening. I think there is a process right now of events that can utilize, this is from a UDisc perspective, that can utilize UDisc to then feed into the PDGA's page, as Johnny just said. And I'm not sure where the payout portion of that is just yet. For what it's worth, a B tier by standards, I don't know if it's 24 or 48 hours. They have a little bit more room to breathe. Not that they don't want to get it up instantly, of course, but they have a little more room to breathe when it's technically a B tier. I don't know. I've gotten spoiled by going to UDisc. When UDisc has so much information out there, and then we use it all weekend long for the Pro Tour. When it's not on the PDGA, I guess it doesn't necessarily concern me, but it's a question. I feel like you came in a little hot with it, only because I know you. But you came in a little hot with that question the other day on Facebook.
Do you plan on going to Nashville for the disc golf experience?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
That's still up in the air. There's Am Worlds conversations because that is basically the same weekend right around then when Am Worlds will be getting started or something of that nature. I would like to, Bobby. I think you and I need to have a conversation. What do they say? Offline?
IRL, in real life?
No. I'm going to, real quick before I go then, and get these prizes for you guys. I had a friend Vox me. Super great guy.
Me?
No, I said a friend that's a super great guy. Which part of that do you fit into? That said, hey, I heard you on the Disc Golf Answer Man podcast.
I heard you on the Disc Golf Answer Man
He
podcast.
said there seemed to be a little bit of a little jabbing out there, and then you were on, and then when you were done, there was a little more jabbing of you. I said, oh, really?
There's a lot to jab.
And I haven't listened to it yet, or ever, but I'll have to go out and listen because apparently I was called in while I was in the airport.
I don't recall the jabbing, to be honest.
All right, I don't know. This
I could be wrong.
reputable gentleman said that he got stuck listening to their podcast or something. He says every time he buys something or orders something from DD, the return receipt is really just an MP4 of the podcast. He doesn't understand how that works. He gets really frustrated, or MP3. He gets really frustrated with it now. But yes, apparently I had a showing or a voicing on
did?
the Disc Golf Answer Man podcast. I'll have to go out and.
It was a.
So they didn't ridicule me. They didn't give me a hard time.
I don't.
Because this guy said they did.
I mean, I don't recall.
Bobby.
In one ear, out the other. Usually with those guys.
Bobby. All right, I'm going to be back in a moment. Johnny's going
keep
to
promising
carry the show and stuff. I got some stuff to give
That's
away,
right.
maybe.
Should we just have like 5 minutes of silence? Oh, snap. All right, what do we got here on the board? Do we have anything? I don't see. We heard people say that Jessica Weiss's forehand is going to shorten her career. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if forehands hurt your career or help your career. Nate Sexton is in his early 30s, and he throws a pretty wicked forehand, and I don't see any problem with that. Big Germ is getting to be a little bit older. He throws a pretty wicked forehand, and it doesn't seem to hurt him. Now, if Jessica's is a poor form forehand, but getting the job done, that could impact her, obviously. So Bobby does bring the funk to DD. He's got a lot of funk. So talk more US 80 GC. Oh, we had the winner on. What more do you want? Brandon was very, very kind in jumping on the podcast because we reached out to him. My plan was to have him on next week because we wanted to have Jessica on this week, but then obviously things with Jessica, so I pushed up that timetable, and we were happy to have him. Having him on is wonderful. The Beaver State Fling feature card is Crabtree, Philo, Keegan, and someone else. That's cool. I think Keegan's a good dark horse. I see him finishing probably, I see like top 10, maybe a 9 or a 10. If he's lucky, he can jump up into the 5 or 6, but he's kind of right on that cusp of players that I think is ready to take off. Let's just cut pros off the moment they go back under 1,000. Oh, I'm fine with that. Once you
What, for ratings?
I'm just saying cut them off in period. Don't let them play.
Oh, your call.
So you've come back with goodies.
I've got some goodies, and for the love of every disc golf thing out there, I hope our viewer, our patron, is on air and is live so we can get an answer right away as to which one they want, because there's going to be some choices here tonight, and then hopefully they can reach out and make sure that we have their address so I can get it shipped right away tomorrow. That's my plan.
Okay.
All right, are you
Sure.
should I set this up? Are we ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
I wish I just took a shot of whiskey. Let me say it's gorgeous out in Milwaukee.
It
right now.
really is.
All right, so here's what we're going to do for the person that ultimately gets drawn. I have 5 or 6 pretty different shirts. They're a mixture of shirts, and either, I guess you can go on the size you want, and you're not going to care about the shirt, or you're going to go with the shirt design that you want, and you're not going to care about the size. However you want to look at it. But I'll give you the options real quickly. Here's a mixture of shirts, and again, maybe you win and you decide that you want somebody to have that particular shirt, or maybe you just go with the size and it doesn't matter. Whatever, either way. I have an Innova Air Force medium. Do this. Sorry.
Medium. Yeah, it's
A medium dry fit.
in front of you is always
Okay.
best.
Yep. Okay. I've got a super soft T SmashBox TV in large. So the first one was a medium. Sorry. First one was a medium Innova dry fit Air Force shirt. This is a super soft large SmashBox tee in green. Or I've got an extra large. This is old school. This I think is like almost first run material here. This is a dry fit SmashBox shirt. I think this literally was some of the first ever SmashBox dry fits ever run. It's been new and in the bag, crinkled for a while, but this is a dry fit material, extra large gray. Yep. Or I've got a cotton extra large Innova, if that's your thing. And then last but not least, I've got a double extra large. So I tried to get every size I could from large up to double. This is an Innova. I'm almost positive this is a long sleeve. It might be a short sleeve. But either way, this is an Innova flag t-shirt that some of you have seen in a double XL. So there are a ton of different options We've got a double XL, 2 different XLs, a large, and a medium. So our Patreon winner will have their choice of any given shirt.
Once again, if you want to be part of the Patreon giveaway, you need to sign up at patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Just sign up for a minimum of $1 a month. You can be entered into our weekly contest. We prefer more, though, always. I signed up for a Patreon for somebody this past weekend, and they are already at about I think they got about 1,100 patrons at about $6,500 a month. So it's a big one.
This was a podcast?
Yeah, it's a YouTube clip. It's called Movies. If you want to watch something really awesome, I think I've recommended this before, Movies with Mikey on YouTube. He breaks down some of it. Some really
the
good
Look
movies.
Who's Talking baby?
Yeah,
that Mikey?
That Mikey. No, the one that eats the cereal, the life
the
cereal.
guy.
So
those are a couple good references.
Movies with Mikey. Yeah, kids, ask your parents, ask your grandparents. The Movies with Mikey. He takes all these really awesome movies and breaks them down. It's just a phenomenal thing, and he put out a Patreon. Said he's been meaning to for a while, and it just exploded. So it's pretty cool. So I have here 148 of our patrons, and I'd like to give something away. So what I've done is I've sorted them by. It looks like they are sorted. I think they're sorted by donation amount. Yep, sorted by donation amount. So
McGeisky, you say I signed up for $1. Is that a month or per show?
You can limit it. So if you look at when you sign up for $1, it'll say, do you want to put a monthly cap on it? So you could say, I want to put $1 monthly cap, and then you'll only get charged $1. Otherwise, it's per podcast. So if we have 5 podcasts in a week, or in a month, 5 podcasts in a month, you'll get charged 5 times unless you've put a cap on it.
So yes. So typically, if anyone were to go out and we'll just say $3, and then you wanted to put a $10 cap on it, what it'll essentially do is it'll charge you for the first podcast, the second podcast, and the third podcast. And if there's a fourth and a fifth one during that month, it won't charge you the full amount for
Correct.
that. Well, I wonder if it'll charge 9 or 10 at that point if you put a cap of 10, but at $3 each. Either way, you can establish a cap at any amount. So that's one good way. And of course, obviously, very few months we'll have 5 podcasts, and more often than not, we'll have 4. So that's how you can kind of base it there. But it is by default per show is the concept.
Correct. And this is always an awkward time because the Patreon always withdraws from wherever source you give it for funds, whether it's PayPal or a credit card, on the 1st of the month. And so this is the day that there's usually some declined credit cards or things like that, whether people's cards expire. So I took those people out of the Patreon, out of the thing. So,
ouch.
Yeah. So it's 148 currently right now. I'm going to hit this generate number, and it is number 68. So it's going to be somebody a little further down the list. 68 today is a $2 patron. His name is Murdoch Locke. So Murdoch Locke.
Murdoch Locke, you're our lucky winner tonight. You have your choice of a medium or large or 2 different extra larges.
Pretty much just ask. We should ask him a size and then send him that size shirt. That's
there you
probably,
go.
So I'll send. So Murdoch,
unless he may say, "Well, I really like.
Oh, okay.
I really like the green one. It might not fit me, but I know I'm going to give it to my son."
That's a good point. So Murdoch, I will reach out to you on email. On the emails, and I'll get your information. We'll get an address for you, and I'll include Terry. You can communicate with him exactly what you want. So thank you, everybody who supports us. As I always say, it really means a ton to me, and I'm very thankful. Without you guys, we wouldn't want to continue doing this.
Certainly, some people listen.
Yeah,
and we appreciate that.
Yeah,
anyone that listens. So the conversation on the board, and I'm going to gloss over it only because we've talked about it. I think extensively in other podcasts at other times. One of the gentlemen on the board is asking, where's the line drawn basically between like a Macbeth and a Wysocki who may or may not talk a lot during a round versus Kat who may not talk or interact during a round? And is there a double standard on some of the women more often than not, specifically Kat, where she may not be talkative or jovial or interactive nearly as much, and why do people associate, we'll say, negative names with that versus when for a male you consider him focused or dialed in or driven or whatever the case is. And again, everyone attacks the course and has a different demeanor and a different style out there.
And we've seen. Here's what I'll say. I kind of equate what we just saw at the Utah Open with Jessica, Kat, and Paige with kind of what we saw between Paul and Ricky. Was that at World? Yeah, that was at Worlds, where they got a little snippy with each other over like the disc marking and stuff like that. But yet a lot, and there are some people that hold that against Paul. A lot of people just are, they're like, whatever. But when it seems to happen to our female competitors, there's just a different light shown on it. Like, there are different words that are thrown out there that I will not repeat, but you can go online and find them. I'll say, like we always say, Kat's focused, but she does come off as abrasive on the course, and that's fine. She comes off a little more abrasive than I would say a Paul or a Ricky. She's probably she's probably the most abrasive person on the course. But off the course, I've hung out with her. She is a wonderful person. Mm-hmm. So, and maybe if you look at it and say, well, who you are on the course determines how I feel about you as a person, that I guess I can't argue with that if someone were to say that, Then there's people like Germ, who on the course is a ton of fun and joking and chiming in on different conversations that maybe you and Steve are having. And off the course, he's the same way. He's the same on the course as he is off the course. Katrina's not.
Sure.
She is very focused and harsh on the course and to herself a lot. And the other women, most of the other women she plays with aren't that way. So I can see how people would equate that with her. It's unfortunate.
So it comes down to competitive versus personal, and we shouldn't judge. My thoughts exactly is what was said out there. Again, everyone has a different way of handling it. Some of the adversity that's on the course, and sometimes you'll see that it is outwardly. Sometimes it's more focused on an inward fashion. I've seen a lot of both men and women in some way lose their cool, but to all of them it's different as to how they do it. And I've seen most of them frustrated. Again, they all handle it a little bit differently. And you may see how a Madison handles it versus a Paige handles it versus a Jessica, and that might be somewhat different than a Kat. They all handle it a little bit differently, and I think that's true on both the men's and the women's side. I guess maybe we talked about it earlier. There simply hasn't been as much coverage of women in general, and so now maybe some of these things are becoming more are brought to light a little bit more, or there's now that there's cameras more often, maybe, again, you're seeing a different side. I don't know what that is, but it's that's about what we can say. Everyone handles it differently. I think I've heard Kat say, Kat very much treats this like a profession. Mm-hmm. She's here as a job. She's not necessarily here to make friends or make besties, I think was the term, or something along those lines. I don't want to misrepresent her, but I believe she said something along those lines, at least at one point, is, she's not necessarily here just for funsies. She's here to do a job, and it's to play well and to win disc golf tournaments. So, that might come across as a little bit more serious and dialed in than some of our other players.
Yep.
You can't slap a smile off Madison's face at any point.
Nope.
She's always out there giggling.
She is. You know what makes me feel better when I'm having a bad round? I take a handful of dirt and put it in someone's bag.
Every time. That's a good call. That's another pro tip.
Or a cup of water. Sometimes I'll take and just put water in their bag. It makes me...
Poison ivy.
Yeah, that's a good one, too.
You can find some.
It makes me feel... A snake? It always makes me feel better. If I'm having a bad round, I just find some usually someone not on my card, though. Like, if you're crossing paths with another group on the course, find someone that's not on your card, because they'll never know it's you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you put it, if you're consistently, if 3 of your card mates at the end of the round all have crap in their bag and you don't, you are going to be the guilty one. But when you hit 3 different groups, aha, there it is. So that's a pro tip right there.
Good call, Johnny. Good call. Nico, some people have asked for Nico. Nico this last weekend specifically was in St. Louis, taking down that event. It seemed like a lot of our players were kind of spread out this last weekend, which was unfortunate. You know, some players were just taking the weekend off. They felt like having this weekend and then going into Beaver State weekend and then turning around and going to the World Championships was going to be too much. It's too bad because there was a massive payout. You were treated incredibly well, and it was a really good time in Utah. The weather was hot but yet not overbearing. They had water and fruit on I believe just about every single hole out there. They had shade out there. It was very enjoyable. So it's too bad there weren't more out there, more people out there playing. Someone asks, is that insider are Cat and Paige at odds, Terry? I don't know about odds. They're not the friends that I think they once were. I think they were closer at one point, I think a number of years ago.
Same thing as Ricky and Paul.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like
when they were younger, they were closer.
They were a little more chummy, many years ago. And now I wouldn't say, I don't think one is calling up the other and saying, hey, let's go get breakfast this morning before the round. I don't think that's happening. But, one is also not dumping sand in the other one's bag either.
They're not having fun.
So
how much should you? And I kind of blocked you out earlier. How much should you talk about Will and his? He made a big post on Facebook about how he's got some sort of shoulder injury he's working through, which is why he says part of the reason he thinks he has a hitch in his putt, which he kind of admits to, but that he took great offense at, and as he should, at people blaming his wife.
Yeah.
And as we've said, he's been with her for a long time through the good and the bad, and there was he took a great offense to having people blame his wife, as he should. So
as he should, yes. I agree.
So if you're out there and you think that who our golfers are dating or seeing is hurting their game, odds are it's probably not. It might be distracting them from some events, but in the long run, they're professionals, and they'll get through it. Will's through that honeymoon phase already. They're like an old married couple already. So, there's no worries about that.
Yeah. So Will has just arrived in Norway. He's in the exact same tournament and spot I was 4 years ago, along with I had the pleasure of then going with Nate Doss, Valerie Jenkins, and Avery Jenkins. We were all brought to Sula for the Sula Open 4 years ago, almost to the day, actually. It just popped up in my feed. And I know Will is there, along with a couple other Prodigy people, and it's an amazing course. They're just with these majestic views, and you're in Norway, and the people are so nice there and everything else. So I hope that they have a really good time. But, yeah, as you mentioned, Will's addressing some of the stuff within his game, and he's been very internal about it. He says he's been somewhat stubborn about certain things,
Yep.
but to blame his or to make any accusations regarding
he said he was
his,
seeing a specialist, and I didn't gather whether that was a shoulder specialist or like a head specialist.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I just couldn't, based on his post, I wasn't sure if he was looking at someone helping him out for his mental game. For his mental disc golf game. I'm not saying he needs to necessarily see a shrink, but if he does, more power to him. Or whether it was a shoulder specialist, like a doctor, helping him out with form or exercises or things like that. So I'd be curious next time we have him on the show. I'd like to talk to him and get a general idea of what he's going through and what he's doing. So
Jeremiah had asked, did anyone ever talk crap about his neck? Maybe I'm just on the boards as much.
Years
of course,
ago.
People have.
Yeah, years ago.
People are. What do I say? People are dickbags.
A lot of times.
Especially when Will got on to the scene. He was younger, but he got onto the scene and immediately, unfortunately.
I mean, he was 18 at the time, and so that particular age tends to come with a lot of hormones that cause that type of stuff, and so people weren't sure if it was something that would go away or if it was permanent, and a lot of things were said behind his back, and this was, I hate to say it's pre-internet because it's not really pre-internet, but it was pre-social media.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot more talking.
Well, and I'm sure he's gone through plenty of jerkish comments and ridicule throughout the years, as any teen would in that situation. And, you know, of course, someone said it here best, something about who cares about his, how was it phrased? Something about if he basically, not sure, but who cares about his appearance versus playing style. And, of course, that's completely true. Anyway, but unfortunately, kids will be kids. I've got a daughter that has vitiligo, which is a loss of pigment in your skin. Sammy Sosa, some of you may know, or Michael Jackson, when people thought he was bleaching his skin, all believed to be a form of vitiligo, where it's 100% cosmetic, and you essentially just lose pigment within your skin. And one in, I don't know, 50,000 people or whatever, it's a pretty small number of people have it, and my daughter has it, and I am very prepared, as we've tried to prepare her, that she will be ridiculed to her face and or behind her back for many, many years to come, because that's unfortunately the nature of far too many jerks in this world. So
I will teach her that whatever makes her feel better is put sand and rocks in kids' backpacks.
Or in their eyes, or whatever is needed.
That's a little physical. I prefer just loading up their backpacks with rocks.
All right. So one thing that I have to, I'm going to give me 2 seconds. I received something I wish I would have brought up literally hours ago. Richard Kohler, who's this amazing gentleman who I met last year.
Kind of looks like Rico from this angle.
Him and his wife had come to Milwaukee and traveled around, and I've got to find, he had sent me a file. Ooh, here it is. And this is, in fact, a Smashbox exclusive. I asked him, and he said, yes, it actually really will be. I think it gets announced in Europe, all over Europe next year, not tomorrow, but we're a little ahead of that. Basically, and I'm going to paraphrase, but he basically talks about PDGA Europe releases new Player of the Year rankings, and it talks about some of the higher profile events. And they have their various ways of arriving at this, and the ranking system, and it's this really nice long article that's kind of all written up for me. But I'm gonna give you a few of the basics in that. On the men's side, based on some of these statistics, or all of these, not some of them.
we gathered all the statistics, but we only used these.
A fraction of them. The total. I'll read this. These total rankings include 4 types of factors, each reflecting a different facet of excellence. The most expected is the current PDGA rating, which captures their average performance, and then it goes on to talk about a number of events that they're at. Specifically, 2017 Konopiste Open, PDGA Pro Worlds, European Open, USDGC, US Women's DGC, and other big European tours, including the Euro Pro Tour and the Euro Toro. So those are all different things that are talked about, and I'm just going to read for right now the top 3. How about that? Or top 4.
Whatever.
On the men's side, we'll start with the women. On the women's side, maybe some of you guys could guess, maybe from listening to the show and who we talk about. But Evelina Salonen from Finland is ranked number 1 on the women. Richard's wife, Katka, is rated number 2. And then Kristen Tatar from Estonia is rated number 3. And then the 4th is Henna Blumros. All your top 4 women on the men's side, Seppu Paju, Yali Storr, Simon Lizotte, KJ Naibo, and then I'll go to 5th with Pasi Koivu. No surprise, maybe. The 5 men named are 5 men we've all named here on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, they're... Yeah. And I think part of this, and I wish I would have brought this up earlier, but part of this is just talking about who are our top players in Europe, and we can, here at Smashbox, we can even do a better job along with Dana to provide you a little bit more of a worldwide update from time to time in talking about some of our top players. So they've got this great article written up. Again, people will be seeing it all over starting tomorrow, but they did want to let us know that this was out and available and that they're putting it together. So very cool. Thank you, Richard. Congrats. Your wife is, again, rated the 2nd highest in terms of these rankings in the female division. The lefty, I think we'll see her at Pro Worlds this year, and I'm going to bet she does quite well. So
I would bet that as well.
wanted to throw that out there. Very,
Good.
very cool. All right.
Just more
Anything else on the board?
talking more girlfriend stuff.
Ooh, girls.
Yeah,
friends.
I basically said that it wouldn't. That I don't blame. I would never blame a significant other for a decline in a game, but
Okay.
that sometimes maybe a new relationship could cause someone to step away from the game, maybe and maybe lose focus for a little bit. But most of our guys at the top of our game have been with their significant other for a while. Like, look at Johnny McRae; it doesn't seem to be hurting him.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul back in the game, would it have shocked me if Paul came back, in a year and said, yeah, when I first started dating Hannah, maybe I wasn't as focused. I was thinking more about her and this and that. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't think that's the case, but I know I fell from number 1 to number 2 in the world. I dropped 2 ratings points, but ultimately it comes down to focus.
Yeah,
So-
look how Yeti's game just continues to plummet after being married to Des for 25 years. I'm just kidding.
Wow. You threw a number out there. Is it that? You said
Odd.
25. I don't think it's been 25. They're not.
In their souls, it feels like it's been 25. I feel like, was it 15 or 20? We saw an anniversary
I
thrown
think
out
they're.
there. 20 would
I
20
think
would
they're-
make sense.
I think they're close to 20, not 25.
20 would make sense then.
Yeah.
Whatever the case might be.
It's just a funny thing. You just gotta watch out. You make some people mad.
I would hope Disc Golf Nerd says, Terry, I would like to buy you a Portland dinner if you're up for it. I could quite possibly be up for that if I'm not editing, but yeah, quite possibly. That sounds great. I appreciate that.
Any update on the coverage for Worlds? Actually, I talked to Steve Hill about this about this for a little bit today, and there really hasn't been any movement. We've talked to the PDGA. There was some talks about bringing in a cellular cow, but as I kind of found out, that requires a lot of pre-planning, like months and months in advance, and a lot of money. So odds of that happening are close to nil. Personally, I don't think we're going to see too much live coverage at Worlds. We are working on maybe some other things, but ultimately, I don't think you're going to see live round coverage. to put it
Full
that way.
yeah. It's just it comes down to flat out technology,
Yeah.
and the technology in the disc golf budget. How about that? Technology in that sense. If somebody wants to go out and pay $250,000 to have some other outfit be able to come in and pull it off in some capacity, more power to them. But yeah, I don't think that's a good good use of money to begin with.
I don't think so either.
At that price point. So it would be
I'm excited for next year, though. Green Mountain. Is that where Pro Worlds is? Up in Vermont.
Correct.
And we know they've got great cell signal, so we're just going to pretend like whoever wins this year's Worlds, it just won't count.
yeah. Be like, I don't know,
Unless it's Dana. I'll let it count then. I don't even know if he's playing.
because he's on the show.
I don't know if he's playing, but
I don't think he's planning on playing Worlds this year. No.
No,
And
he's-
as for who's covering it, I believe there's going to be a presence by Central Coast as well as by Jomez. One would have to
Prodigy, I
assume
believe,
that.
as well.
Prodigy will probably have a presence. So there's going to be round by round, shot by shot coverage. It's just probably a matter of who and how and what format and when it is and whether the disc golf guy, if I'm doing anything in a post production format or if Smashbox has any kind of a nightly recap. There's still things, unfortunately, that are up in the air because we've been trying to work so long to figure out this whole signal issue. So that's kind of where that's all at. Let's talk about your projections for the tour points winners. Which tour? Pro Tour? I mean, right now, Ricky's
going to run away with that.
Well, I mean, Paul's playing most of the events to wrap it out, but I think Ricky has a pretty strong foothold.
I don't think Ricky's going to give it
I don't
up.
think he can hardly
Paul would have to probably finish and
win out.
He'd have to win or take second out, and Ricky would have to have probably an event where he dipped down into like the 10 or 15 or point finishing range in order for Paul to probably have a chance.
So
That's my guess, but you just would know more than us.
yeah, exactly. They can project everything. On the women's side, it's still up in the air. Paige, having obviously the withdrawal this weekend, and then you can skip 2 events, and we know Sarah Holcomb wasn't there. I think that one is going to be more highly contested right now. In fact, I'm going to go out to what is it? UDisc. I think UDisc Live actually keeps the stats as well.
They do.
For the overall. I don't want the stats. I don't know what I want. Do you have any idea where I go? No idea. But they're out there somewhere on UDisc or the Disc Golf Pro Tour, dgpt.com. Here are the tour standings. Ricky Wysocki currently in first. He's got a third, a second, a first, and a first. Simon Lazat's in second. Colling's in third. Gibson's in fourth. Conrad, and then Paul McBeth. Now, Paul has played only 2 events, and he's won them both. So if he were to win the last 2, 3, 4, 5, even if he were to win the last 5, I don't think that would be enough to get past Wysocki.
I
don't believe so.
Because I think they're only dropping 2, correct?
Correct.
So
he'd only have 7 completed.
He'd be short 1.
And that's assuming that he wins. That's a pretty big assumption.
Correct.
All 5. And then on the women's side, as I move down and take a look, there's a ton of people playing. That's awesome. On the men, I don't have to go down. On the FPO side of things, it's interesting. So Paige did not complete the Utah Open and receive 0 points. Same with Sarah Holcomb. However, they're in first and second, respectively. Paige is in first. She has 3 wins and a second. Or, I'm sorry, 3 wins and a third. Sarah Holcomb has a first and 3 seconds. And then Katrina has 2 fourths, a first, and a second. So that's amazing. I guess I didn't even think about that. So even with Paige and Sarah both missing one, and I think that's the only one they're planning on missing, so to speak, or Sarah was. So they'll be able to use their points from there on out. So if Paige can remain in the top 1 or 2 at every event moving here on out, she's going to get it locked down. So.
Someone says, so are we seeing Paul McBeth favoring the other tour, Disc Golf Pro Tour versus Disc Golf World Tour? Yeah, not only, I'm not going to say that. Paul will favor the World Tour because he is technically kind of employed by the World Tour. He's an ambassador to the World Tour, so he has an agreement that he will go to the World Tour events for sure. Now, maybe that changes next year, maybe it doesn't. But right now, I don't think there's a doubt that he favors the World Tour, and
he certainly does.
And he believes in, there's 2 different mentalities as we've said. Steve Dodge wants to create a sustainable, local to the United States tour for our touring disc golfers, and that's not the World Tour's stance. And so I can understand Paul doesn't necessarily need that. Paul doesn't need a sustainable tour for the to being
a traveling
because he has other avenues of income as opposed to someone, let's say, we'll start like a Drew Gibson who could live on the tour. So he is fully behind UC's vision of expanding disc golf into areas where we don't necessarily see them, like your Australia and your Czech Republic.
So yeah, I'll further that by saying Paul is endorsed by Innova and Discmania to some degree. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't want Paul to call me up and yell at me and correct me. But Paul is endorsed, obviously, by Innova to the largest degree. And the World Tour is then heavily backed by Discmania and Innova and a number of other sponsors. And not that the Pro Tour isn't backed by Innova, it is. But the investment that's been made by Innova into the World Tour is much greater. And so Paul, on a worldwide stage, is, I believe, much more concerned for a lot of the reasons Johnny just said. So if you said to Paul tomorrow, Paul, you can only play one or the other for whatever silly reason, some hypothetical reason, I feel he would say, okay, I would then play the World Tour.
Yeah.
If Paul were sponsored by Gateway, I don't know if he would say the same answer. But we don't need to worry about all those silly hypotheticals, do we? All right. If Rick doesn't win Worlds, I want a first-time winner. More fun that way. Terry, that's wrong. What's wrong? What am I wrong about? We'll just ignore that. What I'm saying, that's probably pales in thing. Okay. Good save. Good save. All right, I'm not sure what you're talking about. But one of the questions on the board was something about the seeding. Does 1 versus 2 matter, or finishing first or second? Well, I mean,
it does
there's a
because
title
and there's a
bonus.
And a bonus. Is it like $5,000 bonus?
Something like that. I mean, those I think were the givens that I was glossing over. But in terms of what else matters for it is ultimately it'll come down to seeding as well when it gets to the final weekend. He would shave the Gateway logo backwards if he was. That's funny.
That is pretty
His
funny.
endorsements, Discmania versus Innova. Exactly. And right, that's why I clarified. I know UC has some arrangements with Paul, probably in other literal or figurative or monetary or not or semi-monetary ways. That's for all them and their business. But yes, he is endorsed, in fact, more largely by Innova. But I know he's got ties to UC, as he should. Good night, Smashbox, says Rick. Thank you. I'm sorry, Nick. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
Do you think Anton's going to be on the lead card this weekend? It's hard.
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not. It's hard to say because there are so many great players.
Are.
I don't think you'll see him
On the 5th card.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see him on the 5th card. He'll be on the 3rd card and up. You know, but I think it's probably gonna be a close. It's gonna be a close battle. I think, too,
it's impossible to say. Well, he's for sure indefinitely because there are Dana Vici could 4 Dana Vicis, and I'm not picking on him, but 4 Dana Vicis could get hot first round, and we could have 4 Danas on the card who are solid players who had super hot rounds.
Yeah, you might in the 2nd round you could not see a Ricky and a Paul for some reason.
Paul was on the 5th card last year.
I know.
5th card. It was the largest 5th card gallery you've ever seen, and I was filming it. But he was on the 5th card. Meanwhile, Philo was on the 1st card when he got the Albatross. So anything's possible out there. That was also one of Paul's poorer performances of the year, but that's aside from that. Is my bet still stand? Paul, didn't I bet somebody $100?
Yeah, but nobody knows who you bet or when it was. So
I'll check the damn tapes.
Then you go do that. Don't bring it up until you check them.
That Paul won't finish outside of 10th at any point this year. I hope that's still true. I haven't looked. I'm guessing it is.
So here's
$100.
It's hard to say. Someone asked, what's more important, the World Tour or the Pro Tour, and then what's more prestigious, the World Tour or the Pro Tour? This year, the World Tour has 3 majors out of their 4 events, right?
Something like that.
So winning one of those is pretty prestigious.
Which has come under criticism as well. Why is one tour
getting all the majors?
Yeah, or 3 of the majors that are out there. That's an argument that's been set out there. Is why is it? Because it heavily then seems lopsided to favor one company or one organization way more so, maybe some of the reasons I just said, but it certainly favors one organization. Now, obviously, they're putting on great events in that they've been deemed and awarded major status, but there's an argument to be had by someone that says, hey, why is one entity
but here's,
running most of these?
But here's what I'll say. Those events were majors before they were World Tour events. Congratulations. You took a major and you joined it to your tour. Like, that's great. You can put the frosting on the cake. That's what you have. You have a cake of majors, and the World Tour is the frosting. I like cake. But it's so, I mean, ultimately, I wouldn't necessarily say it's fair versus unfair. He just chose to pick major events, and that works out for him. Because those major events are heavily backed by Innova, those particular 3. Or
I'd have to dig in a little more before I further talked on that. But
I'll say this: winning one of those events, winning the Pro Tour, not a particular tournament, winning the Pro Tour championship overall, I think is a bigger deal and more prestigious than winning the World Tour overall. or now, like we said, the World Tour individual events, they're majors, so you can't really argue with that. Like that's important for any player, more so than any World Tour, or more so than any Pro Tour particular win, even Vibram, even winning. You know, it's just the way it is. But the Pro Tour is more of a tour. Now, what's a more important tour? I think the Pro Tour is more important than the World Tour as a tour, because it's establishing a consistent, hopefully. Thank you. I don't know where the B came in from there. Wow. Hopefully, future sustainable tour that we can look at for the next 10 years. So it's, you know, the World Tour in theory can, it's going to sound so dismissive, can throw their name on any 5, 4, 5, 6 events anywhere in the world. It doesn't really matter to them as long as they're prestigious, as long as they're well-run events. They can put their name on it, and they will, or they'll put their name on an event and they'll make it a well-run event, one or the other, you know, chicken or the egg. The Pro Tour is hopefully creating something sustainable for the long run. That's not necessarily the World Tour's job. That's what I'm trying to spit out. TLDR.
Yeah. Well, it comes down to, in my opinion, it comes very much down to what your objective is as a player. There's certainly the objectives from the organizers' standpoint and from the tour itself, from their standpoint, and then there's the objective from the players. If you're looking for a player, or if you're a player and you're looking for a tour that you can get onto, you can travel around and potentially make a living off of, clearly there's no doubt at all that is much more viable on the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Yep.
And the Disc Golf World Tour has a different objective, and that certainly does not coincide with, hey, I'm going to play the Disc Golf World Tour events and I'm going to be a professional disc golfer for the year, and that's all I'm going to focus on. Is you just can't do it. Even if you won all 4 of those events, by the time you take out all of your expenses, you're not coming out probably ahead, or if you are, it's barely. Okay? So, again, it depends on your objective. UC's objective and Steve Dodge's objective, I believe, are different. They both want to grow the game, but they're going to arrive there in different ways. That's how I'll summarize it. I'm going to get in trouble talking about the World Tour, so I'm staying out of it, Disc Golf Nerd says. Oh, okay. I can't say Pro Tour Championships is bigger than Worlds. Nothing is bigger than Worlds. Depends on what angle. And I agree. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying one could argue. I mean, the Pro Tour, for instance, when you're just talking about that, like that's a series of events taking your best 8 out of 10 performances at something that started in March and ends in October. You're crowning a champion at the end of a season. Worlds is 1 weekend, is 4 days. I mean, I'm not saying you can't compare them. Worlds probably right now has a more prestigious title because you are then world champion. But if you want to talk about what's tougher to win, it'd have to be the
Pro Tour
the Pro
Championship.
Tour.
Yeah.
Because it's a series of 10 events. So
Yep, it
depends on what you want to call it.
Shows a consistency.
My only criticism is that the playoff shouldn't be so soon after the Beaver State Flings Championship. I think you mean that the Worlds shouldn't be right after the Beaver State Fling, and that we beat to death. So
I'd love to see Worlds pushed out 1 more week. I think just, and that's, and obviously there's time to get from one to the other. I think that would help out a lot. And
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. There's one significant, in my opinion, one significant scheduling snafu or challenge this year. Challenge, I like to use that word better even than snafu. And it was Beaver State to Worlds. Get the F over it is what I'm going to most politely say. I've said it 100 other times. We used to have 100 challenges. Then we had 90. Then we had 80. And then we got down to 5 or 10. And then there was, now there's 1 this year. It sucks. It sucks for all the players. It sucks for everybody. I agree, but it's 1 major challenge in terms of the schedule. 1. And it sucks. Got it. Someone had said, I think I completely disagreed with the statement here that someone had just said. Maybe not disagreed. Matthew Hefner says, an NT event win is far better than a B-tier Disc Golf Pro Tour event win. It comes down to the size of the PDGA event for me. And in some regards, I agree with that. And in some regards, I totally disagree with it. When's the last time you were at a B-tier that had $2,500 payout for first place and $2,000 for second place and a guaranteed 10 grand would be added to that tournament, even though there was only 50-some players? Both Jonesboro as well as Utah Open had absurd payouts for the amount of people that were there because the Pro Tour guaranteed it, and then those events, along with the Pro Tour, delivered on it.
I hate to put it like this, but I'm glad the Pro Tour sanctioned their events, but in one perspective, it does kind of hurt them because they sanctioned them as B tiers.
Well, two of them were.
Two of them are.
And why?
Because to draw people in.
No. Because, the point is, they did it because that event couldn't be granted an A-tier status because it maybe didn't have necessarily a sanctioned track record.
Correct. No, that much I understand. But it just, the fact that they were B tiers, I don't know if it hurt them or not.
I think it did.
Or if it was just the fact that those particular events were unknowns in general. And even if they would have come in and been A tiers, I don't know if the turnout would have been much different.
I think it would have been.
Because they are still unknowns. Even if, next year Steve Dodge finds he is a known commodity. He says, I put on these great events. I want to do it at this particular park in this particular state that's never had an event. But Steve Dodge has a history of running fantastic events. Should the PDGA give him an A tier? I think they should. But they didn't. They gave him B tiers because they had never. They want to withhold that A tier status before proof. My thought is Steve has a history of running the Vibram and things like that. Now, granted, technically Steve's not running these events. Technically, he is the tour coordinator. They still have their own TDs. So that could be an aspect. But I don't necessarily know if sanctioning them as B tiers hurt them. Even giving them A tiers, they were still unknown commodities to a lot of these pros. Jonesboro and Utah.
Not Utah. Utah was known as a great event.
Utah was known as a great event, but it's always been unsanctioned, right?
Correct.
So, I don't know.
I feel like both of those events, if they had A-tier status attached to them, which I understand why they didn't, but if they had it, they both would have been bigger events. And I feel like, unfortunately, that's too bad because I feel like people missed out on an amazing Utah Open experience, and they kind of felt like, it was a B tier. It was like no other B tier you'll play this year.
That B tier, I'll go on a limb from what I've heard from people. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Was better than a particular NT event last year.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have a track record, you have a track record, and you've proven it and you've backed it up. I understand why they weren't granted those status, and I'm not arguing that they should have been. I'm saying they were B tiers, and I feel like people overlooked them, and they shouldn't have, because the Utah Open and Jonesboro Open both proved that they had great courses that were incredibly challenging with pro caliber play on them. They had great amenities. They had all these amazing things. And because they were a B tier, I think they were overlooked by a lot of players. That's how I feel. And yeah.
Maybe.
Jarrett says, I like what the Pro Tour is doing, but being the defending world champion to your name is a teller that could change. Of course. There's no doubt about it. World title is what everybody ultimately wants. That may never change. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, everybody wants to be the world champion, no matter what your sport or it's kind of like, I was thinking about poker the other day, how it's kind of faded away, but you can be the World Series of Poker champion, and that could be the only event you win all year. You know, and you could have been a nobody for the whole year, but you win that one event, and suddenly you're the World Series of Poker world champion. So it's no different than our sport. You know, there's no unlike most or a lot of other sports where you have like a playoff to get in, where you have to prove yourself throughout the season. We don't have that. So you're going to run into your flukes of world champions, your one-timers, and I would never call Cam Todd a fluke, but he's a one-time world champion, and he'll probably never win another world championship in the MPO. I definitely have FPO in the MPO division. I could see him winning a Masters, but you know you're going to see that, and he wasn't necessarily super dominant that year. He was really good. He won quite a few events, but he wasn't like a Climo dominant or a Macbeth dominant. So I don't know. World championships are weird.
They are, and I'll agree with Dad's Drunk. He said having I don't know about random, but having a 4-round tournament mid-season and calling it Worlds doesn't make the winner the best player. Imagine blah blah blah. I don't totally agree, and that's why Johnny and I have very much stated that one of the reasons why I wish Worlds was just a little bit longer.
I don't mind it this time of year.
Yeah,
just because you're getting people when they're in their
primed up
in the peak of their season, as opposed to towards the end when they're in theory starting to wane, maybe, or the harshness of the road has caught up with a lot of them. But like we said, I'd love to see it just another round, a round and a half, maybe
longer. Yeah, Lil Bud Hannock says I could destroy Macbeth at my local course, but I suck everywhere else. Later, you say probably not. Haha, you were right. Probably not.
Probably not. Unless your course is literally a pitch and putt, everything under 100 feet, you don't have a chance.
No, I don't think he does there.
If everything's about 100 feet, I think he has a chance because he could throw one in. Macbeth might not hit a 100-foot putt.
Wrong. I bet he does though.
He probably does. Don't get me wrong. I just
saying.
think that's your only chance. That's the only chance you have, because if take our Valley View Park. Like if you go out to Valley View, you have a chance against Paul Macbeth.
I know,
because it's a pitch and putt course where you can shoot a 15 to a 17 down.
In my sleep.
Not right now, I bet. You went out there the other day. What did you shoot?
I threw a bunch of shots.
Okay.
And I hurt my arm, but
way to go. Like I went out there once this year. I shot an 11, and it was like it felt like, oh, cool. I shot an 11. I should have shot it. I should have shot a 13. Is how I felt. Like that's the type of course you have a chance against Macbeth. But you know, your best bet is maybe you throw in a 100-footer and an all 100-foot 18-hole course. You throw in a 100-footer and you hope he doesn't. That's the best bet you have.
Yeah, but you still need to make 17 other putts.
I just assume a 100-footer. More than likely, you're probably getting it inside the circle and putting those in. Hopefully.
Well, that's
hopefully. Because he is. You know he's doing it 18 times.
Is Barry playing Open Worlds? I don't know. I think we saw that he is. I think we checked that. He might have been one of the people that. And the question really was, could he play both worlds? Absolutely. Kevin McCoy, comes out to mind. Patrick Brown, Johnny McRae, Ken Climo, Shasta Chris, Don Smith, anyone of Masters age, if they maneuver it, they can play both worlds, and I know some people certainly will, as they, if they're good enough and they have the time and the money and the drive for it, absolutely, why not? They should play in Grand Rapids in August, and also play, and they're spread far enough apart, by all means, so there shouldn't be any kind of issue in terms of lag or fatigue in that reason.
Barry is playing Pro Worlds. At least he's registered.
Barry's registered, as is Johnny McRae.
Yep. Ken Climo is not.
Yep. I think we noticed that.
Yep. Feldberg is registered for it.
And Feldberg lives an hour from there now. Go ahead, see who else is old enough.
Oldies, we're looking for you oldies.
Avery Jenkins next year, maybe. Might play both. Right?
Yeah.
Who else do you have on there? As you're scrolling down, I'm trying to look for any Cam Todd is registered for Pro Worlds.
Cam Todd could.
He's eligible for both.
Is Josh Childs old enough?
You ask him. I don't know. I'm guessing he's mid 30s ish.
Yeah.
If I had to guess about Josh Child's age.
You're getting close, Josh. If I have to
Yes.
question it.
I think that's most of the names, and most of the names also that are rated high enough that Don Smith is registered
Don
to play Pro Worlds.
Yep.
So Don Smith might be double dipping. Kevin McCoy may or may not be double dipping and playing in both. I know he's registered for Pro Worlds.
Yep.
Does that say Jim Oates?
It says Jim Oates.
Jim Oates.
Jim Oates, who could play Grandmasters. Senior Grandmasters.
Double senior
Legends.
I believe Dave Greenwell is also on the list if you keep scrolling. I thought
Seriously?
Brad Hammock's on the list, who is
Hammock doesn't surprise me.
again lives kind of in that neck of the woods. I could have swore someone said, "Yep, there's David Greenwell,
Oh, yeah, David L. Greenwell.
PDGA number
Oh, yeah,
962."
962. That's what I should have done, sort by PDGA number.
Well, that would be a good indicator as well.
Yeah, Michael Sullivan, Jim Oates, Rico, even though Rico's not old enough.
Not yet.
I don't know if Scott Scholten, if he's PDGA number 5003. I'm going to go on a wild guess and say he's probably old enough. Brad Hammock, Barry Schultz, Jeff Fielder, Phil Arthur. He could play.
Oh, he's definitely
and
because he's won a Masters Worlds.
Yep. So, anyway, there's a lot of them that could, and I'm glad they're playing both. I'd like to see this competition. It's kind of like
Steve Brinster's like 2 years off roughly, and he'll be obviously a fierce competitor once he hits into the to the Masters age. So, all right. So those are some of your names out there that of people that may play in both. So we'll have to see. Matt Hefner comes back and says, clarify, an NT should be more prestigious. For the touring pro, I know it's about money, and winning a B tier for 2,500 is far better than an NT win for 1,200. And I'll go ahead and say it. I think Steve Dodge, with the work that he's doing, I think he doesn't want to be seen, his events,
as B tiers,
as inferior.
Yeah.
You know, to a national tour event. I mean, that's part of what he's building, and the NT wants to continue to thrive and grow and improve. So we may see both of them continue to push each other to, continue to see if someone says, I'm playing the NTs or I'm playing the Pro Tour. Hopefully they don't have to choose either or, but if they do, that might be an indicator.
And I don't know how the players feel about, I kind of get the feeling that they still feel that NTs are more prestigious than Pro Tour events, and I know that the common golf watcher thinks that as well. But if Steve Dodge continues what he's doing next year, like that he's been doing the past 2 years, I personally have the feeling that a Pro Tour win is just as good as an NT win, because there's, other than having the PDGA's full backing, the NTs aren't really doing anything above and beyond special that the Pro Tours are not. So in my eye, that they are the same prestigious level at this point. So
Okay.
I think they are at this point already, but I think you're going to solidify it next year.
Okay. Good night, Seti. Thanks for joining us tonight. And thanks for the super chat donation that you made. This conversation about CCDG, champs versus chumps. I'm not familiar with everything that happened on the last one, so I'm not going to reiterate or chime in there. But yeah, I think that's about all that we got. I think we're rounding it out, unless other people have hot topics that we need to make sure that we touch on. One thing
You
I
shop
didn't.
at Hot Topic?
I do. One thing that I didn't touch on that I meant to mention earlier is I know that Bevel Craft Brewing has released a collaboration beer tonight. I know that's going on out in Oregon. So it's the Kalapua. Somebody's going to make fun of me for not knowing that. Kalapua Brewing Company. I've seen them posted and make marks. I believe they've supported disc golf in a very large capacity for a couple of years now, because I think I've seen Dustin and Zoe make remarks and or run putting leagues maybe out there. But they had a release tonight from 5:30 to 7:30 to try the Beaver State Fling collaboration beer, the Pine Bender Pale. So there you go. I'm sure that might be around for some participants this upcoming weekend at Beaver State. I'm excited to see some of you at Beaver. Well, I'm excited to see all of you, but some of you will be at Beaver State. I'm going to be running around a little bit crazy. I'm going to try and get as much footage as I can, probably Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm not even sure what I'll be filming just yet. I'll get that figured out as I get there and work with the other crews who are also going to be out there filming. But looking forward to looking forward to being out there.
Wet.
And
You're gonna be all
I'm
wet.
getting wet out there. Is that what you're telling me?
You're gonna be soaked
Uh,
and cold.
I won't be cold. Not at 60 degrees. I'll be all right at 60 degrees.
I don't know. 60 and like soaking wet does not sound appealing to me.
Sounds like a great night out on the town campfire area with me. 60s and wet.
It's
All right.
it's a bad Bon Jovi cover band.
Slippery when wet?
That's why it's a bad one.
Oh.
60 and wet.
Thanks. Great job. Little Bud says, have a good night. Is it normal for Michael Joe to not have played in one tourney that I've watched? Yep, Michael Joe is very regional. He does not necessarily travel around a ton, so that is absolutely normal. It was terrible. I think monetizing it is one thing, and another thing, they have a great idea and completely destroy it by selling out and killing everything. Oh, you're talking about some champs versus chumps. That's what I don't know. I don't know if you already covered it, but are there any bigger productions like yourselves covering the KC Wide Open, or are you all going to be at Beaver State? I know
Everyone's going to Beaver State. As far as I know.
The people we know are the disc golf guy, Joe Mez, and Central Coast. After that, I'm not sure who's going to be where. That's all that we can refer to. Jarrett, later, have a good night. And Ronald Harkey says his pick for Worlds will be Michael Joe, which is not a bad pick down at the two courses that I witnessed. Not a bad pick at all. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up, guys and girls. We appreciate, of course, all of you tuning in tonight to both the regular show as well as our after show. There will not be a live. There might be a few minutes of live Facebook at Beaver State Fling. I know a lot of you are going to be asking for it. Marty from the PDGA, maybe myself, but if there's any live, it won't likely be for more than a few holes. The cell phone coverage is spotty and horrible in most of that beautiful park. And Facebook Live is, again, it's possible in very, very few spots, depending on the cellular provider you have. There won't be any live broadcast from us at SmashBox. You're going to mainly see post-production action, along with a few Instagrams and some of that stuff. But you're mostly going to see post-production action from a number of different entities. So, tired of crap, I got to say thank you for your contributions. We greatly appreciate it, along with everyone else that provided anything in the super chat. Super appreciate it. You guys are all awesome. Little Bud, we appreciate you saying you're going to become a Patreon supporter of ours. Thank you so much. We had our beef and squashed it. Yeah, we did. That's when you were being a jerk to me. I'm just kidding. All right. Good night, everyone. After show briefly on my Instagram page, just because now I feel like I have to. So if you want any more really stupidness, join me on Instagram. It's at the Disc Golf Guy.
Well, John does all the real work.
Well, Johnny V does some work, allegedly. And I'll BS with you a little bit more. So for Johnny V and myself, that's the after show. Podcast 147. We'll see you after the Beaver State Fling. We'll see you next week for podcast 148 when you step inside the Smash Box.